Let's see how this goes live. All right, so we're live once
Just
more.
had a notification.
For a biddle. Okay, Colin, what were you asking me? I forget now.
I was asking you, maybe your operating system must be the.
Oh, with Ubuntu. Yeah,
Oh.
well, look. I don't... The desktop has crashed a couple times. Okay, but more importantly, the programs around the desktop are crashing constantly. OBS, the video thumbnailer, sound settings. I just having all kinds of issues with it, and I don't understand. I mean, it's it's supposed to be the LTS. It's supposed to be stable. That's exactly why I went to it, and I don't know. Having issues. And there's Matt.
Morning, Matt.
What's going on, guys?
Somebody let me know if we're still having buffering issues this week, just so I know. So what's going on with you guys? Colin, what are you running?
I'm running, and I'm getting double feedback from you, Rocco. Is anyone else getting that?
No, I'm fine. You sure it's not you?
Oh my gosh.
Don't know. Let me have a
Having
look.
buffering issues, according to Vega.
Vega Man, yeah.
Yeah, well, I can see that OBS is going into the red and yellow, so I don't know what's going on with it. I have no idea. I have no idea how to fix that. Like, none.
Can you guys hear me or not? Because it sounds a bit funny with me at the moment.
Yeah, we can hear you, dude.
Can hear you perfectly. That's really weird because I never get any buffering at all on my stream when I watch it back.
Well, when you watch it back, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, as in...
I'm just going to start again because everything's repeating on me. I'm going to start.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. See you in a minute.
We got to get this right, dude. This is so wrong that this is not right. I got to get off of the LTS because it's killing me. That's all I'm saying. It's killing me.
I'm trying to think what he was on before when everything was running really smoothly.
When was that? I don't remember everything running really smoothly for some reason.
I think he might have been running Ubuntu.
No, I think you remember that wrong, Zeb.
I think Zeb remembers that however he wants.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much the way it is.
Hey, where's our buddy Ryan tonight?
He's supposed to be here, so I don't know. Don't know exactly where he is, but...
Maybe he got snowed in his kitchen again.
Maybe he did. Maybe the airport closed down.
Maybe he got lost in the customization of XFCE.
Yeah.
Trying to make it look pretty.
So everybody make sure they check out Destination Linux Monday because we had a great episode. And actually, Zeb, I'm still editing it.
Wow. It was long.
I started when I got home from work, and I'm still editing it now. I'm not even done. So it's not going to be out early for the patrons like it normally is, but there's nothing I can do about it. So
Use error.
Hi, Joe. Sorry, mate.
Hey, Joe. So anyway, had a great interview with Stuart Langridge from Bad Voltage, and it was such a great conversation. I think it did break our record for the longest interview ever, even past Ike. So you'll have to wait and see. It was a great interview.
Ike was like 2 hours.
2 hours and 8 minutes to be exact. I wrote it down, and pretty sure this is going to beat that. So
I liked your teaser video you put out.
Well, I didn't. It wasn't like it wasn't up to the quality standards that I wanted, but I was in the middle of trying to edit this episode as well. So, yeah.
He was such an easy guy to talk to, though.
He was friendly. He was funny, really knowledgeable about a lot of different things, and had a unique perspective coming from, working for Canonical and being a developer, and yet he wasn't like the inside developer now, but yet he has that perspective. So it was a really good interview.
Is it bad of me to say I don't know who this guy is?
No, it's not bad of you to say that, but you should check his podcast out, because he has a podcast with 2 other guys, and it's badvoltage.org, and it's really really awesome.
Jenna Bacon's the other one of the other hosts.
But it's not for a mixed audience, Colin.
No.
So don't have any kiddies around when you watch it.
Mine are all grown up, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's not that they do it every week, but there are episodes or different like parts of episodes where they don't mind swearing. So
yeah, they're not. It's just natural if it happens. Yeah, they try not to, but if it comes out, it comes out. Yeah.
Right. No, that's cool. All good at my end.
Hey, Clifford, I got a question for you. Do you patrons mind on Destination Linux being part of the outtakes on the show? Because if you do, I will leave it out. But I was going to actually put part of what we were talking about in the outtakes. If you're okay with that.
Well, speaking as a patron, I'm pretty sure I can say probably not. Oh, hey, it's Ryan.
Wait, where's Ryan at? Oh, I don't see Ryan. I don't see Ryan because I have the video off for, like, I have it set to not show.
Well, I would too if it was Ryan, but
I'm not seeing him at all at the moment. His video's off still.
Yeah, well, we both have it set for that. So,
what's happening?
Oh, Ryan.
You let me start video, Rocco.
Hold on.
Michael's in, yeah.
Did you remove my permissions there, buddy?
Maybe.
Buddy, old pal, old friend.
Maybe. No, it's something that I have to hand out every time. So
yeah, no.
So there, you're
just giving you a hard time.
You're good.
So Michael, a 6-hour stream killing your eyeballs there, buddy?
That looks like it's a no from Clifford there, Rocco.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, Clifford, is that a no, you don't want to be part of the outtakes, or no, you don't mind being part of the outtakes?
Yeah.
I don't remember how I asked that question, but
the answer to that question is yes.
Exactly. So we'll just. Are you okay being part of the outtakes? We'll just leave it at that, and you let me know.
So everyone's waiting now for Clifford to type.
Yeah, right.
So is Ryan, you're there, are you, Ryan?
I am here.
Yeah, he's here. Your sound is a bit low too, I must say.
Well, I was trying to figure out why it's not showing me having a camera in Zoom all of a sudden.
There you are.
There you are. There, you're right now.
Can we go back to the way it was?
I was gonna say you can turn it back off. Turn it back off.
From such a good-looking bunch of people, I really take that one seriously.
Ryan, buddy, how you been?
What's happening, man?
You'd be happy to know, Ryan, I'm running Antigos Gnome today.
Nice. It'd been better if it was XFCE, but I like the Antigos part.
No, I had enough of XFC during our little debacle time going back a week. So
Well, it's not for everybody.
So what are you running, Ryan?
Right now I'm on Arch Merge, i3.
Arch Merge.
You're running the i3. Wow.
I'm on i3 right now. Yeah.
Now we know why his camera doesn't work.
Zeb, remember,
I was just about to say.
Us Neanderthals can't figure out how to run i3. Only the elite technical guys like Ryan can figure it out.
Now, wait a minute. Does that mean he's in the lead as 2 when it comes to Antigross? That's why he didn't show up with his own challenge?
Oh, man. Look at that.
I had to take at least one across the bow and let it go.
Turn your
How did
sound
you
up,
pull
Ryan. I
that
can't
off?
hardly hear you.
What's
Turn
Yeah,
your
your
that?
sound up.
sound's a little low, Ryan.
Yeah, your sound is low.
Your
Yeah.
sound's a little low.
It must be i3.
Oh my gosh, the anger.
How can you use i3 and like eat at the same time? It's impossible, isn't it? It just doesn't work, does it?
I thought trying to use i3 and get anything done was impossible, but okay.
Oh my gosh. I'm being made fun of by a bunch of gnome users.
So
This is
Ryan,
classic.
this is
I'm not using Gnome, buddy.
Ryan. This is the first episode of Biddle that you've been back for.
Yeah.
So would you care to explain yourself of why you?
I
Missed
mean, why? In
so
this
many
group,
weeks?
is it even going to matter what I say? It's just going to lead to more BSing from the peanut gallery over here.
I mean,
you
but
should
if
be
you
lucky
don't,
I'm
like,
back,
what's
'cause
the
now You guys
alternative?
actually have some talent on the show, so let's get that out of the way. Number two is, no, I had a really crummy week, a couple of weeks, in fact. But you know, in the end, it was unforgivable to miss the episode that apparently I was responsible for. I was stuck in a business trip at an airport, and you guys remember the whole snow in the South, which, you know, 2 inches will shut down Georgia, and we got 7. But I was in Kansas City, and all the flights got canceled. I played that game of Delta continuing to say, hey, we're going to have a flight in the next 2 hours if you just wait. And then they would cancel again until about midnight, where I finally got a hotel. That brings us into Saturday. So Saturday, I finally get home, I think around 1, 2 o'clock, something like that, or get to fly back into Atlanta. And there's no power at my house. Then my daughter starts projectile vomiting because she has the stomach flu.
Oh,
The next day, we all get the
gee.
stomach flu and begin projectile vomiting. So it was just fantastic. To not mention, I start having major computer issues and failures on top of all of this. So once we get power back, nothing's working on my computer. I eventually found out it's this little bad stick of RAM here.
Corsair.
Oh.
But then we all got strep throat. So there's that. So that was Thursday, Friday this week. So yeah, I've had a lot of luck. So
And his mic just dropped.
and now your
There we go.
microphone's gone.
no, I accidentally
Yeah,
did. I'm
yeah.
trying to turn up my mic for you guys because you say it's low, but I
Oh,
accidentally.
hang on. He's on an i3. He cut himself off.
He hit the wrong shortcut key. He muted himself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Aren't you guys-
Let's be accurate about one thing you said. A dusting will shut down the South.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
A dusting.
So in any case, that's been my fun week.
Well, at least you feel better, buddy. It's at least
Yeah.
you're back that way,
Yeah.
and your family's okay.
No fun at all, eh?
Yeah,
Really?
it's been rough, and then having to deal with Rocco.
You guys are too nice, man. I still wouldn't let him off the hook like that.
Yeah,
Wouldn't say let them off the hook.
you've been you know, really ruining what used to be super nice people, Rocco. You're bad influence.
We
Yeah,
haven't
it's
even
not bad,
started on him yet. We haven't even started on him yet for the Antagos debacle.
Yeah, where's Barb at?
She won't be in.
Yeah.
She can't make it.
Oh, okay.
How's my
Oh.
sound? Is that better?
That's no.
Is that a little more loud?
No, sounds the
No.
same.
Yeah.
It's not horrible. It's just you sound a little distant.
No, I think it sounds perfect, Joe. Really.
Oh yeah. When you think about it that way,
You know, if I'm not wanted here, Rocco, I can leave.
begging the guy to
You'll
come
have
back
a great
only to
show
turn around and
without
scare him away. I don't know.
I was gonna say Rocco. I'm pretty sure mute sounds pretty good too, but you know. Hi, Ryan.
Man.
Tell us what's going on, man.
Hey, Toss.
Tots.
Toss.
Toss, tell me you're not going to be a jerk.
Excuse me?
He just walked into this conversation, so
Everyone else has been a jerk to me, so I'm hoping you're going to be nice.
I will be nice. I will say good evening in Russian. Dobry večer.
Oh, thank you. See, look at that.
Evening,
Someone
Pete.
with an education in class finally showed up.
No, I feel you. I was a little bit sick last year. I was sucking on Sudafed as desserts.
Yeah.
But yeah. You know, it's like that old joke. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, but no. I feel your pain. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been a blast. But good thing I have great friends like Rocco to support me.
Right?
Really?
Right?
And poke fun at you using i3.
Yeah,
What would you do without me?
so much. Produce content for my channel.
Have a much less of a headache Linux using experience.
Be surrounded by people who like me. You know,
Pete, what's going on, man?
Hey.
Well, nobody likes you, Ryan. I mean, that's
Oh,
Beside the
stop
point.
it already.
Gosh, Rocco.
Well, I'm not even.
Problem, dude.
Wow, I'm not even that mean.
You need some Midol, dude?
all right.
All right.
I'm just frustrated because the stream's not streaming right.
Clearly.
Hey, you got all that buffering. It's the net neutrality kicking in early. That's all.
It is.
Well, I'm going to have to call Uncle Guido in Sicily and take care of that. So,
Right.
Yeah, man.
Where are we with net neutrality? Haven't they had their meeting or something about that already?
Yeah, they killed it.
Yeah, they
Oh, they killed it, did they? Oh, I didn't see that news.
Mm-hmm.
They killed it.
Here's the
Just
show.
wait for the comedy video to come out from the FCC guy again.
Yeah.
That was disgraceful.
This is the greatest thing ever, according to him and him alone.
Yeah, I mean, he's the head of the FCC and he's clowning around on a video about what you can and can't still do. Shocking.
Of course, this is also the same clown who used to be a Verizon shill lawyer.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
So he must be related. He must be related to the same person who decided to change the Patreon as well, is he? Or
You know, JP.
No,
made a
they
good
actually
point, Rocco.
backtracked.
Maybe
Yeah,
your
they
stream,
stopped it. Yeah, so definitely not related.
maybe your stream is buffering because you haven't paid the FCC, Rocco.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to pay for a higher tier.
Oh, you're wanting to stream? That's a higher tier package, my friend.
You want
Michael.
to stream on more than one platform? That's another tier.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to
Good point.
pay for protection. See what I'm saying? But no.
Yeah.
Protect your
so,
back.
So
Ryan,
you
how
asked,
you
you
like-
asked for Toss to be nice to you, but that's how it works. They're nice to you before the lights go out.
Ah,
We'll take care of you.
Yep.
So how are you liking the i3, Ryan, at the end of the day?
I tell everybody the same thing. I do not recommend it to anybody unless you go after it for the same reason I did it, which is to learn some more about Linux and the file system and where all the settings and config files and just general navigation and a lot of learning and fun and a little feather in your hat to say I'm geekier than you because I can use i3. With that being said, is using XFCE or KDE or any of the other desktop environments easier? Sure. But I think once you get used to i3, it honestly starts showing a lot of unique advantages. And certainly folks who are programmers for a living, I am not, I could see certainly how beneficial it would be for them to have this type of system. But even in things like gaming, for instance, so Rocco all the time whines, as I like to call it, about not being able to get certain games to launch on one monitor or the other. And of course, there are many options like launch options in Steam and things you can try to set, but sometimes that doesn't work. Well, in i3, you don't have to worry about any of that. You want to move it to your second monitor, you hit shift right arrow, boom, the game's on your second monitor. You want to move it to your left monitor, shift left arrow, it's on your left monitor. Like everything is windowed, so it's interesting some of the advantages it has. But I would never say, go, everyone, here's your new challenge. Go download i3 and I won't show up next week.
Right?
Well, hey, you did it with Interrogos, so
I mean, that was an easy one.
Did anybody have a problem with no audio for like the past couple of minutes or so? Because after Ryan said 7 words, it just stopped. It said, "I don't recommend it to anybody."
That's pretty much what happened.
That's called selective hearing.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Hey, Michael, now out of everybody here, I think you have some experience with i3 actually, right? What are your thoughts on it?
i3, awesome, and Xmonad, yeah.
You like it for real? It's unique, right? It's hard to
It's very
recommend,
unique.
but it's
I like
unique.
parts of it. Other parts are annoying, but
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like every distro.
Yeah, that's true. Once you get used to it, it's kind of nice. It like the first time you try it, the barrier is drastic. Like if you're not prepared to mess with it, it is drastic because there's a lot of things you cannot do without shortcuts, and all the shortcuts are specific to each tiling window manager. So when you learn i3 and you go to Awesome, it doesn't matter, whole new thing. So and the same thing with Xmonad. And even the way you do like the configs are all different too. Like Awesome uses Lua, I think, and I forgot what i3 uses. But there's like, just they're so different in every way. But the tiling is awesome because you can have stuff like exactly where you want them to be whenever you want them to be it. So you launch it and it just goes exactly where you want, the exact size you want, stuff like that. Now, the benefit of tiling is that when you first start using it, you don't want to customize anything, so you want to like see how it works.
Right.
But after about an hour of it, you'd want to customize it because like you change one thing and you're like, I want this full screen on this monitor and this desktop, not stop moving everything. And then you kind of get when you start digging in a lot deeper too. So, but there is something that a lot of people don't know is that i3, there is actually a really easy way to try out i3 if you want to. And that is WattOS's i3 version called MicroWatt. And it's an Ubuntu-based distro with i3 as the interface. So you don't have to worry with like Arch or Gentoo or anything. You can just go straight into MicroWatt and just try it out.
Yep. Well, I've tried several different, I haven't tried that one, by the way, but I tried several of the, I had different distros like Ubuntu or whatever, and I installed the i3 just through the repository and would go into it. And you could set it up and it's fine. But Arch Merge, for me, being new, was a godsend because it was just, he has everything already professionally kind of set up, at least to a workflow that I appreciate. So... And then the wallpaper, the Conky, really, I told originally it was the wallpaper, but it's actually a Conky setting he has that has all the shortcuts as soon as you boot in. So you can see all of them. And that for the first couple hours is like heaven, being able to know and see those shortcuts right away. After that, after I've been on it for about 2 weeks now, obviously everything's kind of second nature and you start getting used to it. Again, I don't ever think I'm going to go i3's it's not really a desktop environment, but my desktop environment of choice. But it's certainly fun to learn, and I've learned a ton about the file system in the process, which I think was cool.
It also gives you
until we talked about it last week on here a little bit. How come i3 is one of those? Is it because it's that unique that you don't hear much about it?
It's incredibly esoteric.
Yeah.
Like
it's really meant for like Michael, people
only
who are
the highly
programmers,
intelligent, like Ryan, would be able to run it.
Wow.
Or crazy, right?
The guy that's been using Linux the least amount of time.
Imagine that. All these experienced Linux users and who's using i3.
Because
we done years ago.
Yeah, to be fair, I did it for like 2 years. So
exactly. There you go. See,
most of us already did our exploring in Linux and found out that we didn't like certain things.
I feel like the senior here. I've been using Linux since 06, off and on, but more on now. I started in 06 with Ubuntu. It was in a magazine like Popular Science or something, and it says there was a small article. It says, "Are you tired of XP? Try Ubuntu." And I was like, "What the hell is Ubuntu?" And that's how it got started.
Yeah,
it's been over 10 years for me. Yeah,
me too.
So if you want to go like that,
Mandrake.
1999.
Back then it was like I said, I was distro hopping for the first 5 years. Then I got to stop, because most of them suck. I think even Walmart tried to sell a Linux desktop. I think it was GOS.
You can get a bunch from Walmart. You can get, and also Staples and Target had them too.
Yeah. Okay. So I downloaded it, and it was off. I'm like, great. First impressions of Linux, on the shelf. It's no good. But I found what's good. So
I started in 1999. It was painful. Super painful.
I'm sure it was.
Well, back then, Linux really didn't start getting for the masses. I mean, somewhat like out of the box working not until really Linux Mint came out, and try to make things out of the box, with, codecs and drivers. It really wasn't until about 2010, 2011 when it started getting it. Of course, now you have a lot of choices for beginners, but back then,
that kind of begs the question, though. What made you guys stay with it during what you guys classify the medieval times?
Insanity.
Going to Windows.
No,
was it just the geek feather in the hat, or was it just something?
Curiosity, security.
I can tell you what it was for me.
Yeah.
I can tell you what it was for me. It was the fact that you just got this operating system that booted much quicker than Windows. It seemed to run so much smoother. And you thought, if I can get this running, I'll be very happy with this, because then I don't have to deal with these ridiculous updates and whatever. And XP, as we all know, once it's been on there for 6 months or more and those updates keep coming through,
yeah,
it goes so
Of course,
slow.
back then it was XP, which I didn't really.
Yeah.
Once it was on there for 35 seconds, you got a virus.
Right.
Yeah. And even back then, I actually liked, I think it was the first one was Fedora 10.
Fedora 4.
I didn't think I forget back then.
Yeah.
I started with Fedora Core 6, but I had before that Knoppix and Red Hat, some guy sent me in the mail.
Yeah, I had Ubuntu before that, but I just, because I think it was 6 or 7 I started with that. We were talking about it before, but then I tried Fedora on an old HP machine, and it ran flawless. The worst part about it, like back in its early days, was putting together basically instead of having an ISO, you had to compile everything or put everything together, all the files, put the Wooby and all that stuff in, and then put it on a CD. Back then, you didn't even use a flash drive; you did it with a CD.
CD, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of you guys mentioned Fedora a lot. Why has nobody stuck with Fedora?
Have you tried it?
That's pretty much it.
Vanilla GNOME Gnome.
Well,
Is it that bad, really?
I was given Fedora by the boss. I work for a small company, and it's privately owned, and the boss's son's IT. He gave me a Fedora Core 6 because I already had a couple that I was trying, the Knoppix and whatever some guy sent me. But then I tried running that. But even one of the IT guys at work used to pull his hair out trying to run Fedora, and he knew so much more than me. And I just thought staying away from that because it was just hard to get running all the time.
But once you got it running, it wasn't bad back then.
Well, so here's the
Not
problem.
so much better now, though.
The Fedora's biggest problem was always of application availability. It's still a problem, and it's like it was horrible like 10 years ago.
Is it the one that uses Yast, or is that OpenSUSE?
No, that's
Yeah.
OpenSUSE.
OpenSUSE.
Oh, that's OpenSUSE, yes.
Fedora used to use Yum. Now it uses DNF.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yum, that's right.
I
But
forgot.
see, all these things you're saying that were so bad, even back then, were still better than, in my opinion. XP was not a bad operating system, but it was a typical Windows system.
We're not.
that got
In my
brought out.
opinion, I'm not. When I talk about how Linux is like some part of Linux distro or something like that is like not good or not user friendly or whatever, I'm like automatically having like the discussion of whether Windows beats it. Windows loses like automatically. The only time you have any Windows has any kind of win is gaming, and that's not even Windows had anything to do with that.
Right.
More
The
developers.
developers picked it, and that's it.
Yeah.
So everything else, whatever. So that's why when people say like, a window manager or a desktop environment is lightweight or heavy or something, it's like compared to everything else, it's not heavy. But anyway, so Fedora has this thing where it used to be you had Fedora's packages, which are all free software only. You had no proprietary stuff ever. You had no access to
That's right.
most packages. You had to build your own RPMs. You
RPM
had some
Fusion.
cases where RPM Fusion was created, and you can finally use RPM Fusion to get more packages. Before RPM Fusion, it was torture. Now they have Copper, which is improvement, but again, free software only in Copper. So you still have to get RPM Fusion, and etc. You know, it's just
That was an extra repo, wasn't it? RPM
Yeah.
Fusion was an extra repo
it's an extra
to add,
repo. It's a
wasn't
repo
it?
that's not. It's a third party repo. It's not made by Fedora.
Yeah.
It's a totally
Yeah,
separate
that's
thing.
right.
You got to pull that in. So
That's right. Yeah.
then there's
But it
also
is-
the other issue of their support cycle is so short. They have one support cycle, no long term, and it's a year. Then it's done.
I
That's
was
not
going
good.
to say, I know for me, Michael, like you say, it started back in '99 with, I'm assuming either Mandrake or Red Hat, right?
Debian.
Debian. Okay. I know for me, like my take on Fedora or any Red Hat distro is RPM hell.
Back then it doesn't matter. You pick them either one. They're was terrible.
Yeah, but like that was my experience with the first Linux distro. So anytime I see RPM, you think dependency hell.
Yeah. But if you try it now, Fedora 26 and Fedora 27 run really, really well.
They do, but like preference, unfortunately, experience speaks to preference.
I remember one time Spatry and I did a News and Nonsense Sunday night 4 or 5 years ago, and Fedora had the latest release, Fedora 17.18, codenamed Beefy Miracle.
17.
Beefy Miracle. Oh man!
Honest to God, look it up. I'm not going to say more. This is a family channel. I'm not going to. But Spatry, I think at times like, get out of here. Look it up.
Oh,
Beefy. I'm like, really?
What Beaver?
I was gonna say,
Don't look. Now you wonder why Windows users make fun of us and Linux. I'm like, okay, I'll allow you that one time, second time. Beefy.
Yeah, because Longhorn makes sense. That everybody loved that.
okay, Schrodinger's
Chicago
cat.
makes total sense that you're just your operating system named after a city. They're all code names.
Schrodinger's cat.
they can never make fun of us simply because they had Clippy the paperclip.
Yeah, and the little
Right.
wizard.
Yeah, right.
Clippy
Yep.
the pipe clip.
But
Like the latest Ubuntu 18.
I was actually sad that Beefy Miracle. I think it was the second to last one. I think like 19 or 20 was the last one.
I'm still laughing at the next Ubuntu, Bionic Beaver.
Beaver.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
I think it's cool.
So, Michael, I've been really interested to ask you a question because you tend to look at issues in a different light. And the Mozilla news that came out recently, I don't know if everybody's heard, but basically it actually happened to me, which kind of sparked my interest into it. All of a sudden, I had an extension show up in Firefox.
Did you look through the looking glass?
Yeah, and it was called Looking Glass, and it actually freaked me out because I'm like, gosh, how did this ever get installed? And there's no description of what it is, and it was just real, just some vague random extension that shows up in your list. And obviously, there's a lot of news articles and Reddit forum posts and things about people being very upset with Mozilla over this. Defendable, non-defendable? What's your thought on it?
Super stupid.
Yeah.
Like there's no
Amen.
to it. There's like
So
I love
That's why
Firefox.
Rocco uses Google Chrome, right?
well, he's been
Well,
using Firefox.
that's the sad part about it. As I was using Firefox, and I was actually liking Firefox. I
Right.
love the whole
Yeah,
container
but this
tab
one
thing.
is not a big deal. This is annoying and a dumb move, but it's not like going back to Google is like, oh no, I stubbed my toe. Might as well cut off my foot.
It isn't. Yes, but it isn't just one minor issue. It's like a series of things that
Not really.
we're like, okay, we're gonna excuse that. Okay, that wasn't the greatest decision, but that's no
Like
big
what?
deal.
The
Like
whole- The whole possibly tracking 1% of one country of like a tiny of that
and
country's
okay, and
tiny
you can make
we
that
go
claim,
again.
but what I'm
and
saying
also
here,
asking if they want to participate in that or not, and also
and then questionably donating money places, and look, there's one thing after another.
That questionably, there's no.
That's how it starts.
It's a fine thing for them to have donated the money. Who cares? That was blown out of proportion, massive.
Like I said, it's one thing after another. It's
No,
a
they're all
series of
fine.
questionable
Who cares?
moves.
A company who cares about the privacy and advocation of rights of others gives money to a organization that cares about the rights of others and advocates. Yeah, okay.
Mike, I'm not going to go in and argue the whole point because it's not worth it. I'm just
No, I'm just
telling you,
saying,
there's
all
a
of them have the
series
same
of
thing.
questionable moves that they have made in the last couple months that are questionable, and it makes you think. And when they do something like this, it just adds to it.
I
And
think
Google
that, you know,
absolutely to your face tracks you and smiles.
Exactly. They
So, like,
tell
how
you
is
right
that
up. They tell you right up front. You
but
know why?
these are questionable things that are not.
Do you know? Do you know why it's bad? Because you know what Google is, but Firefox portrays themselves to be a certain moral standard.
God, I
when they
wish I
don't,
had popcorn. You guys
and
keep
when
going.
they don't live up to that moral
I actually thought
standard,
about that before I came in.
then it's bad. You know the crook's a crook, okay? But when the cop is a crook, it's bad, and that's why I'm saying it.
A very good point you bring there, Rocco.
I mean, it's a point.
Oh my!
Ouch.
That was too easy. I'm sorry.
Michael, are you
there,
from New
Michael?
York?
He just lobbed it right there. It's like,
Are
okay.
you from Brooklyn, Michael?
No, I'm a
Just
transplant.
curious. You're what?
I could be a transplant though.
You're a child. Okay.
Ay,
Um,
ay, ay.
You know, you've
So
got
did
the New
this
York
only
attitude.
happen? Did this only happen in America? Because I've never seen what you guys are talking about.
Well, some people claim that you had to opt in to sharing information with Firefox. Although a lot of the forums, and including myself, I've never checked to share that information. It showed up on mine. A lot of random people are
It's not a
saying it
check.
happened.
It's not a check. It's a notification at the top when you first install Firefox. It basically says, it tells you, it says, "Hey, are you want to participate in this thing?" The little bar at the bottom. You can say no or okay, and you say okay, and you have checked that box.
So I don't think I've done that, but maybe I had. But anyways, there's a lot of people probably in my boat that probably didn't think they did, but maybe they did, and so they got it. And basically, it's an app, and it was a promotion for a movie or a TV show or something called iRobot.
Mr. Robot.
Yeah, and
Which the show itself is about privacy and security.
Funny enough. And then the whole idea behind it was at some point you were going to find some clue through the show, or maybe if you followed some clues from the extension, if you found it, it would be some revealing information to the show. It was some really great web marketing plan that nobody opted into. And I agree with Michael and I agree with Rocco. On one side of it, I don't think it has to be a Firefox versus Google issue, because I agree going to Google feels like, well, you're just going to the company that does it to your face and would do it and be like, if somebody got mad about it, be like, yeah, so what? But there are other web browsers out there. There are tons of other options out there. It does make me wonder with some of the decisions, to Rocco's point, that Firefox has been making is their leadership thinking on the right realms? On one aspect, I say yes, because I want them to make money. I want them to be marketing with TV shows and movies and utilizing that as a platform to make money, because that's how anybody will ever be able to compete against Google. So I'm okay with that. But how you do that with your user community is very critical. How you initiate those type of things. Like, if they had done it correctly, it may have, number one, intrigued my interest into iRobot, the TV show. Maybe it's something I want to watch. Sounds sci-fi-ish. And number two, maybe then seeing the app because I opted in for some more information about something. But they just kind of threw it in at people. And I think that's the mistake. And if they keep doing these kind of questionable things, whether I agree with them personally or not, I think it's not helping their case. They obviously, irregardless of how we feel, the entire Reddit forum replies to it are extraordinarily negative, and people who may have been considering switching may not now just because of it. So irregardless, their plan backfired. It was stupid. So I hope they do better. I hope they learn from the stuff, but I don't think it's like, I got to use Chrome now exclusively either, but it's not great decision-making skills I'm seeing.
It's annoying.
It's great ideas, just not good decision-making skills.
Yeah, advertising this way would have been fine if they hadn't forced an install of an add-on.
Yeah.
When you sign up for this thing, you're doing this thing called the Shield Studies, and you sign up for this, and the Shield Study is how they installed that add-on. It's dumb. It was a terrible decision, worthless. it provided no benefit to them or Mr. Robot or anything. So Ryan, he's even calling it iRobot over and over. It's not even that. It didn't help them much at all.
So, Mike,
this
this thing you're telling me is only able to be installed on the people that actually check that box when they first open Firefox, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it's not really a box. It's just like a notification. If you don't disable it, it just automatically it's an opt-out thing.
So my question is, do you think that they should go a little bit further in explaining what will end up happening if they don't disable it? What?
They should have been stupid and don't do that in the first place.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is obviously they are. Obviously they have the capability of installing plugins without you asking.
Yeah.
Without you knowing.
Stop it.
So if they're going to do this, don't you think they should have, in the beginning, gave you more information and said, this is what this checkbox that you're going to check or uncheck is capable of doing?
If they want to do ridiculous stuff like this, they should ask you every single time. So eventually you get annoyed, turn it off. However, they should never do it, period. This is ridiculous.
Michael, I have another question while we're talking about this.
All right.
If you go into the permissions and then the warn you when websites try to install add-ons, then there's the exceptions. What is testpilot.firefox.com?
Testpilot is you have to kind of, it's shocking that you have that without signing up for it, really. But Testpilot is get custom add-ons that are like in experimental stages and so you can get it. So for example, if you ever heard me talk about container tabs before 57 came out and you installed container tabs, you installed Testpilot.
Okay, because that would explain something, because I took that out and then it's back in, and I think that the only way that you just explained probably how it got back in there, because you did talk about container tabs a couple of shows ago, and I went and tried it, and now it's back.
Yeah, that would happen.
So it's not a big deal, right?
Right now, you don't need it anymore, but before 57 came out, you did need Testpilot to do it.
Okay. So Jacob in chat says you can't promote privacy and transparency and then have this mentality.
Yeah, I think what they
agreed
is ridiculous, but I'm not bothered by it because it's in the sense of like it's one thing that they've done that's actually just straight up dumb. Like,
well, let me ask you this: you're not bothered by it enough to make any changes?
No, I turned it off, and I turned off the settings so that they couldn't get information anymore. And I was the person who was happily giving them information, giving them data for usage and stuff, because I'd also block stuff that I care about privately. But overall, the basic stuff of like how often I use container tabs and all that stuff, I'm perfectly happy with them having that. I turned that off now because they did this, but in general, I wouldn't have been a problem with it if they had asked me in the first place. I would have said no because I have no interest in watching that show. But I understand why some people would like it. I mean, the premise of the show is fun. Like, and they also show like a bunch of they show him using Linux tools where here's the kicker. Properly. He uses them properly. The output in the terminal is accurate to what it would have done. That's unheard of in a TV show.
The fact that they even have a talk about KDE versus GNOME.
I hate that one, though.
Yeah, but it's like the second, it just goes to show that there's at least some nuance in the series.
Well, if you watch like past that episode, like there's 3 or 4 or 5 episodes or so, they start showing him using these different tools for like network monitoring and stuff, and it's legit. It actually it's fake, obviously, but the output is legit. But that one GNOME KDE argument they had, or discussion they had, I hated it. Oh, I see you're running GNOME. Look at his computer. It's not GNOME. Yeah. Oh, I see I made this up. Like, that part annoyed me. Because like they didn't have to do that. They could have just had a screenshot of GNOME and then it'd be solved, it'd be done. But no, we got to fake everything. And then and then people are like, oh, look, he's using GNOME fallback. It's like, no, it's fake. It ain't a real thing. It looks like one of those made-up Hollywood things. Just accept it. It's what it is. Who cares? Anyway, dumb decision. Both on Mr. Robot and Firefox, Mozilla for doing this. Mr. Robot don't really care, but they should have realized the stupid thing too. Like, it's not going to benefit them for doing this. But I don't care in the sense of like it's not going to make me stop using Firefox and go to anything else that's worse. Because I mean that's not one massive mistake. It's not massive. It's not catastrophic. One silly, stupid mistake versus straight up, I am tracking everything you do. I'm going to go with not that second one. I'm going to stick to the first one that's at least wants to be good.
No, I'm not advocating people switch to Chrome. I'm just saying that it's a bad trend that we see in Firefox. A bad series of events. Misfortunate events?
I don't think so.
Misfortunate
None of
events.
them are misfortunes at this point. One misfortunate event.
Well, that's debatable. But moving on.
But you don't want to debate it. You don't want to debate it.
No, I don't want to debate it.
Oh,
It's not
switch
worth
to
the debate.
Chrome. It's faster anyway. Jeez.
So you know what actually is kind of funny? Back to what Colin said earlier. Maybe the people who are running Mozilla are also connected to running Patreon.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Oh, what a great discussion.
Yes. So let's talk about Patreon. So they decided to change their fees, and then they decided to backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
I know why. Yeah,
It was the right decision
Yes.
to backtrack.
Yes.
But again, we go back to the same scenario with Firefox. Why would you even do that in the first place?
Stupidity.
They thought it was a good idea, and then when they lost a bunch of business because of it, they backtracked. That's what it comes down to.
But you had to know that that was going to happen. I mean,
You would hope they
you
would.
had to know
They
that
said
that would.
they
I
weren't.
mean,
Well, maybe, maybe not, because how is that any different than people who go to a live auction who've never been there before and don't realize, oh, I'm going to bid on this thing, and then they don't realize they got to pay a buyer's premium to get it too, even though the seller's paying a premium as well. But, you know, it's kind of.
yeah, but this is.
I know it's a different
but that's a
analogy.
one-time thing. That's
Huh?
that's like that's a one-time thing. You learned your lesson. You're done. I mean, they were changing the fees forever.
Yeah, I know.
Like they were completely changing them. So it's not this time I went to the auction, I got had, and now I'm not going to go back to the auction and get had again. You know, it's all the fees are changing, and this is the way it is. You had to know that was going to upset people.
I think
and
what I don't get
and
about
you're
that-
in the business of making people money.
right.
Is
You-
it just
you know-
another feather in the cap to get rid of the small YouTuber? Is it? I wonder.
No, I
YouTube
think
has nothing to do with it. I don't know what you mean.
I think they experimented with something and they wanted to try it, and it didn't work out. I mean, when I first got wind of it that morning on my phone and my notification, I'm like, well, this is like major not user friendly, to put it mildly. And I canceled my account abruptly. Maybe it was not a smart thing to do, but I got an email. Like as soon as they changed, I got an email that day that they changed their mind. I said, well, sorry, Toss. No, but but I just thought it was
And we'll
stupid.
give them this in a culture where these companies sometimes make dumb decisions and then double down on it. At the very least, they made a bad decision, but they backtracked. And to me, at least for now, I have a lot of respect for companies that do that because it seems to be a trend of companies who don't care anymore.
Well, they took a lot of heat. I mean, from not just me, but popular channels or artists. They took a lot of heat and much more than I gave them. And the only thing.
So if I'm looking from the outside in, the only thing I can think of that maybe somebody had the bright idea or thought that, hey, if we change this to where a YouTuber is going to get the full amount, maybe that'll make it more appealing for the YouTubers to want to come over and start using the service more.
Only one reason.
But not thinking about the other side of it, that, hey, when somebody's Patreon contribution shows up and they're getting hit more and say, well, hey, I donated this, why is it more?
But once
Not
again,
looking at the other side of it,
if it's not broken, don't fix it. We all know how it works. If you pledge $1, whether it's Patreon, PayPal, you're charged $1.
right.
Yep.
Now, there's going to be
PayPal
fees in
charges
that, and that's fine. It wasn't broken. I wasn't complaining before. I complained when they changed it.
Yeah.
Right.
They tried something like Ryan said. They realized, gee, we're losing too many, too many content creators, artists, singers, or whatever. and they realized this is not going to be good in the long term for business. That's my guess. And they said, well, my email says we messed up. Duh. But
Mike, when you said there's one reason they did it, why do you think they did it?
Oh, because they were losing money.
You think they were losing money?
Yeah.
Really?
People look at it as they were trying to get money for creators. Nah. They were trying to look at it. Some people look at it, oh, it's a cash grab. Nah.
But then the CEO a few years ago said, oh, this is never about making the money.
Correct, because this is
always about the money.
Yeah.
No, it's about keeping money and not going bankrupt. People look at it as there's a cash grab. It's not. That's not true. It's completely revenue neutral for them. The 5% they get from creators was not changing. That was still going to be theirs. The issue is that they did this policy where a lot of creators were bothered by someone pledging at let's say you get the payment at on the 1st to the 5th, somewhere around there. And then someone else pledges on the 9th. They're not going to be charged for the next month. So they get all the benefits of being a patron for an entire month for nothing, technically. So a lot of creators were like, hey, could you do like an upfront thing? So as soon as they join, they pay these fees, they pay the thing and they pay the fee. And then after that, they join the aggregate every month after that. So the problem was Patreon was eating the fees for those upfront costs, those upfront patrons. So they were losing money every time a new patron joined and did the upfront from the creator's decision, because that upfront was not the patrons, it was the creator's choice. So you'd say someone has like hundreds or thousands of patrons and they have that upfront creator thing, that's going to hit Patreon really quick. Now, if you have like thousands of those people, that's going to just crush them. Even though it's only a couple dollars at a time, it is a lot very quickly. That's like unsustainable. So the idea was them to take that fee off themselves and put it on the patron. They didn't think about the whole $1, $2 is the most common.
But how would they be losing money?
Well,
saying that their payouts go out right away, because what they could have done was set it up to have these, like you're talking about, the dates of the payouts, and then somebody joins on the 9th. They could have had the payout for that new joining be deferred until the next month or whatever too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but that's deferred. How it was.
But the creators didn't want that, because that means that for almost an entire month, they're getting everything as a patron for nothing.
But why couldn't they do a prorated system? Where
because it makes it even more complicated on their part for managing the finances of that. So their idea was, we're financially bleeding. We need to stop the bleeding. They stopped it in the worst possible way. There are other options. Be like, hey, creators, let me get over it.
Before you go further, let me ask you this then. Again, not being a YouTuber, but wasn't there a thing when you start out as a YouTuber too, you have to hit a certain plateau before your monetization really starts paying out for you anyway?
Not in the beginning, but yeah, eventually they started.
So the point is then, what's the difference as a YouTuber if they got to wait the 9th to the end of the month or whatever?
Because Patreon's not about YouTube.
Still technically less than a month before they start seeing that money. It's still probably faster than they would have on YouTube from what their platform was.
Yeah, but there's a distinct difference between giving out a free video on YouTube that everybody and anyone can watch it instantly, to putting out specific content to a Patreon who's meant to be, or a patron who's meant to be paying for it.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
You do extra effort for those patrons too, because they're giving you money, so it's like you're rewarding them for doing it.
I got you.
Someone is getting that reward without doing anything.
But the other thing as well, it's a bit petty of the creators to moan that someone was going to get 3 weeks worth of free content. Hey, they've just signed up to you, so unless they're suffering a lot of people saying I'm going to pledge $1, getting the first month for free and then cancelling it, do they still get charged that first $1?
No.
So maybe they were worried about people tricking the system, so they got 3 weeks worth of free content.
Yeah, it's possible that someone might do that, but
that's going to be so little anyway. It's just
it's not worth the hassle. And the solution for Patreon is just to stop giving that upfront option. And once they killed that, and they said, Creators, I understand that you are bothered, but get over it.
Yeah.
Make your own platform if you want, but get
Well, the other side of the coin is Patreon better look for some sponsorships then and stuff if that's what they're worried about, to try to supplement the difference, because that's what everybody else does.
No, they're trying. No, the idea, they make money. They make money every transaction of every creator. They make money. The issue is that they were also having to pay money on all of the fees. And it's, if the issue is that the people who promote Patreon is because there's an aggregate system. The aggregate fee structure is beneficial to the creator and the patron. It's also beneficial to Patreon. But when they started like bypassing that aggregate structure, the fees start piling up massively. So if I only pay like 5% or so to the fees over, a chunk of money, let's say $100, you only pay that much, that's not a lot. But if I pay, 2.5% plus 35 cents every single transaction on $1, that's like 40% on top.
So if you supported, like if I supported 10 artists on Patreon, it would have been $1.38 times each transaction. And that's where the problem was.
Yes.
It wasn't like one time you get each one. And that's where I thought that ain't good.
Now take that and then multiply it by thousands. And that's what Patreon is dealing with themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like they were wanting to kill that bleeding. So like that's the issue. And I understand they want to do that. The way they messed up is they didn't contact the creators first. Like you would assume they would at least contact the biggest creators they have on the platform. Nothing. Even the creators like DeFranco, who's got like 15,000 people who are on his Patreon. He said that they never talked to him until after he called them.
Isn't that bizarre? For a communication platform, there was no communication. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call him a communication platform. I call him like a
part of it.
Group funding, crowdfunding.
Well,
thing.
part of it is is communicating with content creators and patrons. But anyway, they changed their mind, and that I think it's great.
It is good that they realize hey, everybody hates this. We should stop.
Right.
There's like maybe 2 or 3 people I saw, like YouTubers that were okay with it. But I saw thousands that hated it.
Well, I don't know. I think PayPal is a lot simpler. So
I can't stand PayPal. I can't stand it.
Why? What's wrong with
Pay
it?
way more fees in PayPal. Way more.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you do. Guaranteed. Because to PayPal, there is no such thing as an aggregate fee. You're paying 2.9% plus 30 cents for everything. Always.
That's fine. Okay.
That's not fine. Why would you want to pay 2.9% plus 35 cents when you can pay 4% on all of it all at once? You save money. Why?
That's what Patreon does? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, it is what they do. Yeah. The amount of money you spend percentage-wise of what every single PayPal, you're actually getting roughly the same amount, even with the extra percentage that Patreon adds for themselves. Even with that, you're basically paying maybe the same, but PayPal gives you nothing. You get nothing for that. Patreon gives you like pulse systems, community tab stuff.
Well, there's more
stuff.
features. Yeah. I like the simplicity of PayPal, but
if you're paying the same thing, it doesn't benefit. Like if you want to offer, like I recently had just today on my stream, someone sent me some money on PayPal. That's fantastic. And whether they had split that money up on Patreon or not, it doesn't matter because I'm fine with however they want to do it. So I'm not saying like don't use PayPal. Give the option if someone wants to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like as far as like people, when I saw people saying, "Oh, how dare Patreon do this?" Let's all, but patrons shouldn't pay the fee. Let's all move to Libera Pay, where patrons pay the fee. What? It's like
I didn't even check out that other one, so.
Well, everybody who was talking about that was like, looking at that. Although Toss's video pointed out Donor Box, that actually looks good.
Okay, I just looked at it. I don't know if it's
That's really good. They don't
so
charge
it is
you. They don't charge you until you get $1,000. They don't charge you a fee whatsoever.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, until you get 1,000 a month, they don't charge you nothing. They charge you transaction fees because they were forced to do that. But as far as their own fee, nothing for 1,000.
really? Okay. All right. Sounds reasonable.
Like that's when I saw, I was like, that's
And what's this
good.
called?
And then when you get to 1,000, they charge you 50%.
Donor box.
They charge you
Donorbox.org,
10%.
I think. Yeah.
Still more. They still charge you more overall. It's just until you get to that point, they don't charge you anything. I was like,
Okay.
Then
All right.
after watching your video, I was like, how many are there of these options? There's like 30. There's
Really?
There's a lot. There's one called Snowdrift and snowdrift.coop. Weird thing.
Well, I'm glad I could help.
Give me incentive to look further. There you go. So
I'll take 2% of what you make. Thank you.
only after
So we're looking
17,000.
for an
Send it through
alternative
PayPal.
for desktop.
Yes.
As soon as I
Keep it
get
simple.
Bitcoin.
You know, because a lot of our listeners had asked for an alternative since this came through. And
Yep.
so we are looking for one if you guys have.
Okay, I'll look into donor box if it's
Okay.
okay.
Here's the list.
Tuxdigital.com now has a Patreon.
Tuxdigital.com/crowdfunding doesn't exist. Will soon. So no, there's not anything right now. Not really. They all have limitations. Patreon is the only one that's like the most open as far as what you can do. So, like for example, Snowdrift, LiberaPay, GrataPay. Well, not really GrataPay. FossPay, GetFund, and a couple more are actually open source platforms that you can deploy yourself. They're very complicated to deploy. Then you have this situation where LiberaPay makes the patrons pay, but they pay in a different way, which is it's better than the Patreon's previous thing that they were gonna do, which they didn't. So that's good. They were gonna do LiberaPay was better than that, but Snowdrift has this it has a better system that they don't charge you anything, even at all. Period.
But
ever.
see, I don't like the name Snowdrift, because it sounds like a snow job. The
I
first
don't
thing
I don't know what the name of it. It's supposed to be like
Okay, all right, just a thought. Okay, all
money
right.
drips into your ice bed. I don't know.
Okay, so let's cut to it. If Patreon shut down today, they said they're done.
Mhm.
Where would you go?
Nowhere. There's nothing.
PayPal.
With all of these options that you're talking about, there's no.
Oh, come on, Mike.
I mean, you would have to
Please.
go.
They all
You would
have
have to do
massive limits.
something.
They all have massive limits.
You're
But you would have
stubborn
to
like an
pick-
Italian.
No, no,
But you would have to pick one,
They're like, please, Michael, we just want to hand you our money.
right?
And you're going to be like,
Yes.
no,
most
there's no
possible-
alternative. Go away.
The most likely. Okay, maybe I wouldn't do that.
Look a rock.
I hope you wouldn't do that.
Maybe I wouldn't. So LiberaPay would probably be the most reasonable, except for maybe DonorBox, as long as they whatever. The reason why LiberaPay is cool is they don't charge you a fee either. I think at all ever, but they take a percentage of the transaction fee from the whatever. So it is a higher transaction fee than you might think.
Well, knowing Rocco next week when we're coming up with our ideas for the alternative for some of our listeners, it'll have something to do with Google. Some Google Pay, Google credit card,
Google Wallet. Yeah, Google Wallet. So here's the thing: LiberaPay is actually not beneficial to the patron in the sense, like it is kind of, but not as much as as Patreon is. However, it has everything else that's okay. Snowdrift has a limitation where you have to. They only support open source projects, and that's it. If you do anything that's not open source immediately or free culture or whatever, they don't care. They won't do it. So like Snowdrift functionally has everything I want, and then it has that limitation. Like you have to release absolutely everything you do as open source free software. It's like I don't want to release everything I do. Like, and also that defeats the point of a reward system. So they also don't like reward system, by the way. So like there's all these, and LiberaPay doesn't have a reward system either. So they have all these different structures where they all fail a little bit. If I had no other choice, I would probably go DonorBox.
Yeah, DonorBox looks pretty simple to set up. It's, I don't want to go host my own payment platform. I mean, I am obviously very advanced since I use i3, but I wouldn't want to take
Right.
responsibility for people's credit cards. And
Oh no, the idea is that you wouldn't.
You know,
No,
so
you should never do that.
Yeah.
But the idea is not to do that. You use Stripe. Stripe stores their credit card information. You never touch it.
Gotcha.
You know why he wears those earphones that he's got on, don't you?
Because they're high quality.
His head's going like this, and and his ears got knocked off when they walked through the door, so he has to pull them up
to keep his head from swelling anymore. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cute.
But there's actually this is a you know how some people refer to me as a nerdy person.
No, never heard.
I watch a YouTuber who is a copyright attorney, and he sort of basically said that he's helping legally with a project who's going to make their own Patreon thing, and it's called Sponsors.
Sponsors?
Yeah, like sponsors, and it's like an open source.
Sponsors.
So far, they're implying that it's going to be open source. I don't know for sure, but they're like they say that the transactional stuff is already done. So they've been working pretty quickly for a.
So I was kind of going through DonorBox, checking it out while you're talking, and I got this page that came up and said, "Your connection is not secure. The owner of DonorBox.com has configured this website improperly. To protect your information from being stolen, Firefox is not connected to this site." I don't know that I'm going to tell my folks to go put their money there. I don't know what that is, Michael.
Well, it's sometimes there's a thing where if you have. I don't know. I can't help that one.
It's unsecure.
Besides
it's
DonorBox
unsecure.
you talked about?
LibrePay.
Let's try that. That's the one I heard other podcasts mentioning. Actually, was LibrePay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got its own problems. What it does have is beneficial to like UK and EU people. They don't have to pay as high of a percentage for the VAT because they already have to pay for a VAT, so their percentage is lower for them. So that's like it's better than if you have
That's
someone
cool,
from the UK.
Because we actually have a lot of listeners that are
the UK
US.
patrons pay a lot through Patreon because like the extra VAT on top. Like
that might be a good alternative there then for us.
DonorBox also has a really good percentage for the EU and UK and stuff.
Except they're unsecure.
I can't promise that. I mean, like maybe it's okay. Maybe it's like maybe you need a photo. Maybe if you have a photo that is not set as HTTPS and you accidentally put a HTTP photo, it'll give you that message. Or if your certificate expires, like Manjaro twice, it will give you that message. And
in LibrePay, about it has quarantine. We quarantine money for 1 month to protect ourselves from credit card fraud, which I get. Sorry for the inconvenience. Concretely, you are prevented from withdrawing the quarantine money from your LibrePay account to your bank account.
Mm-hmm. You have to wait that first month thing, yeah.
And they'll go through.
Also, I don't like the system the patrons have to do. You can't just say, I want to pay this money to this person. You have to say, this is how much money I'm willing to spend per month. Now, deposit that money into a wallet. Then fees are taken on top of that money directly in the wallet. And then you can put that money out to the creators.
I'm thinking PayPal, Rocco. What about you?
PayPal, simple. It's simple.
I'm thinking PayPal, simple.
It's simple. It's simple.
I mean, it's so funny how many accounts we have to already manage just to do a podcast.
See, PayPal's like Ubuntu Mate. It works out of the box. Okay.
Yeah.
So
adding, having another area to take care of and post messages to, blah blah blah. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm thinking if we have to have an alternative to Patreon, it'll probably be something like PayPal.
I've been using it a few years. I really haven't had any issues. So it's
what's that? PayPal?
It's it may not be quote the best, quote unquote, but it's simple, it works.
And maybe when one of these newer ones kind of pop in, like Michael was talking about, I think a lot of people probably smell blood in the water, so there'll probably be some big advancements and some new companies popping up. We'll look
There's
at it.
There's also one called FossPay that you can You can self-host it, and it's actually really easy to self-host it. Oddly enough, and it's you just put the files on a server.
It's easy enough for i3 users.
Well, in that case, it's actually not that bad. It's the thing about it is that's cool is that it has the ability to be a Kickstarter or a Patreon thing, but it doesn't have like the reward system yet. But the guy who's working on it's been working on it for like a couple years just for his own purposes.
Is it something that has to be open source? Like,
no, they don't care. No, they don't care. You just it's the software itself is open source, but they don't care what you do with it. I actually talked to the developer of it yesterday, and I hadn't realized that I talked to him about something else like a month before, and his name was like, my name's familiar for some reason. But anyway, it's still remember what it was that I talked to him before, but it's actually pretty cool. I looked at it, and you can do subscription based thing, or you can do a Kickstarter type thing. And what's really good about it is that it uses Stripe, so the fees are lower than PayPal. You can do it in an aggregate system, but and also like because
so it doesn't have tiers or anything.
Not yet. He said he's considered it because of the whole Patreon thing. Like he made it for himself and said anybody can use it if they want. But now with the Patreon thing, he's like, maybe, I'll do some extra stuff to it. Why not?
So the question would be, would people who want to support you as a podcast or whoever, would they want to use something that they've never heard of like that?
Well, they go to it's hosted on your site, so they would just either trust you or not. So if you trust it,
that would be an issue. I mean, PayPal is well known worldwide, so that's why I trust it. And people who have donated that way
are not done through this thing. This is just like the front end management stuff. Like,
so how does it work for them? Do they create an account? Do they have to enter their credit card in? Like, I mean, how does that work for them?
You don't create an account. I mean, in the future, yes, you do. And there's actually like a simple thing that gives you the history of how much transactions you had or whatever. It's not like a full Patreon type thing, but it could be. Anyway, what's cool is that you go in and say you choose subscription or you choose like one-time campaign.
Somebody's got some feedback going on.
Yeah, someone's got their monitor on.
Yeah, somebody's got their sound on.
Well, it's not me because I hear myself talking, so it can't be me.
It's not me. I run i3.
Not me. I got the Windows full.
Wow.
It's not me. I run i3.
That's only because you wouldn't know how to listen to it and talk.
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
And I actually enjoyed hanging out with. Now
another win for PZ.
So
PZ for the win.
So
yes, Robot, the buffering is on our end for some reason.
What's he saying?
Yeah,
Rocco
what were you
hasn't
saying?
paid the FCC yet.
Oh, when you choose to pay, you choose to sign up for the thing or whatever, it will then have a pop-up from Stripe that asks you to put your credit card information in. And that Stripe thing is secure. That pop-up is secure, and Stripe handles everything from there. And Stripe is a company that's been around for a very long time, and it's like, as far as developers who have to deal with like managing transactions, Stripe is like glorious. Like when Stripe first came out, like 3 years ago or so, I immediately dropped PayPal. In comparison, Stripe is just dominant, like so much better. And also, Stripe doesn't have the policy where, hey, you make enough money in a certain time, we're going to keep it.
I guess another option is Amazon links. People buy some, then you get a cut.
That's an extra thing. I would do like that.
Yeah. I mean, just as an option, because it's well known, and I mean, I shop on Amazon. I don't have any issues, and it seems like a lot of YouTubers do that.
Do you use your own affiliate link to shop?
I never thought about that. Maybe I should. It was funny because I applied for the I'll tell all my family members only shop through this link. No, I never really thought about that, Rocco. But I applied for, I think they called the Amazon Influencer Program months ago, and it says, "Sorry, you are not accepted." Okay, fine. Then I checked my email last month. I've been accepted. Really? I'm like, okay. So
they
I
don't
started
even tell you what
using.
the criteria is. They just you put your information in and see if you qualify, and then
Well, I don't have 1 million subscribers, so I'm going to apply, and I knew they were going to say no, and they did. But then months later, oh, I got accepted. I'm like, gee, was it something I said about Sicily? No, but you know, so I started using the Amazon. I mean, it's new. I don't know how well it's going to work, but it's something that people shop Amazon worldwide. And somebody asked me, what about the UK? No, my link is only for the US. I would have to apply for the program, the UK version for Amazon. I'm assuming I would be accepted and then link the to USA. I haven't done it, but no, the links that I use are strictly, I don't know if it's for tax reasons or whatever, but it's strictly for the USA. So there you go.
Cool.
by default, it's Amazon trying to keep track, like organize it for themselves.
Is that what it? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
they allow you to sign up regardless of like.
I should apply for the UK one,
Yeah.
but just,
No, they won't. They won't care.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they didn't care when I did it, so I don't know for sure. But
officially, we don't know.
They didn't seem to care, but they do actually care if you use your own like code thing.
Okay, Rocco, what's the next subject you want to drag on about? I mean, talk about.
Wow.
Finally,
okay,
someone in DOS Geeks Corner.
So,
I think Ryan's got the next topic. Someone's reminded him in chat.
Oh yeah. I'll pick the next subject. XFCE, great desktop environment or greatest?
okay, moving on.
Only choice.
We have. Which would you pick, XFCE or XFace? Which one?
XFCE.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I can tell you the answer if you want, but like,
This sounds like a character in Batman. Look out for
Provide
X-Face.
your opinion.
like my favorites. When I saw a video, they were like, this guy was making it. I forgot. I don't remember the name, but there's a guy who's making a video about. It's like a joke about the different pronunciations. One of them was like, you're supposed to say X face because it's like fancy, and then you go to their website. It says, please don't call it X face. There's no A in it.
Yeah, we have one listener who doesn't take the mispronunciation of anything as a joke.
Yeah, he was very upset at us for not pronouncing.
Extremely
words the
upset.
right way.
Like,
Who's that?
cuss you out. Upset.
Yeah,
Michael.
We got an
We
email.
think it was Michael. I've done the back trace back, but he's been rerouting it through all of these different hops. It's brilliant. how
See,
he's done
everybody's pointing to different places. I'm not in that place you're pointing. If you're talking to me, I don't know what it is. And I would never do that.
it. It's the Brady Bunch.
But no, I would never do that.
There's a story of a man named X-Face.
Bradley mentions MX17, which you guys will hear coming up on the podcast. We won't give away why, but it'll come up on the podcast this week.
This
MX
week
is amazing.
Wait. This week, Ryan was actually able to give his picks because he missed the previous week,
I've caught
obviously.
one time, and you guys act
So
like I've been
he was
missing
able to
for
give
years.
his distro
I
pick
love
of
that
the
you need me
year.
so much.
So there's only 2 weeks left in the year, and I highly doubt things are going to be changing in the next 2 weeks. So if everybody had to pick one distro of the year for this year, Michael, it can't be KD Neon. Okay,
If everyone
so
could pick
if everyone
one distro,
had to
Michael,
pick,
it can't be Kitty.
there he's going.
He will not play your game.
Okay, so
I think we hurt his feelings. Oh, poor baby.
So if you had to pick one distro for this year, which one would it be?
One, right? You can't pick two, just one.
No, just one.
Oh, man,
All right, here's my
that's
top
tough.
5.
Hannah Montana was.
Yep.
One. Colin?
I would have to say Solus for sure. I think they've done a lot of work, a lot
Great
of hard
choice.
work, and not only for their own distro, but also for the Linux community themselves. I think they do an awesome job.
Agreed.
Such a good choice.
Pete?
I don't know. I feel like Ubuntu. They've done a lot of big changes.
Mm-hmm. They have. Is that your pick?
I think so.
Okay. Toss?
Well, you guys know last week my fans picked Solus,
Nice.
but I can't because it's too new. I can't quite say for newbies go out there and download it now because it's too new. But I would have to say it's probably a toss-up. I love Ubuntu Mate, but Linux Mint, the latest, what did I download on my ThinkPad? Cinnamon works pretty good. But if you had to hold me down to one, I'm comfortable with Ubuntu Mate, so I'll pick that one.
Ryan?
Yeah.
That's to me, it's a toss-up between MX and Ubuntu. I would have to say, since it's installed on most of my machines and been on my machines the longest, Ubuntu.
1710.
Yeah.
Good choice. And I be honest with you, if the dual monitor thing was working, I'd be running that right now.
Yeah.
Joe?
Go ahead, Ryan. You had something else you want to say?
No, I was just gonna say it's interesting because you guys will hear us talk about it too on the podcast on Monday, but can't understand that dual monitor issue with the cores that you're having because nobody else is having it. And believe me, I've been there many times where I'm talking about an issue and everybody's like, "That's never happened to me." So I know how that feels, but it's odd because so many of us use dual monitors nowadays. It's such a common thing that would happen, and you don't have it anywhere else. So it's just very.
Well, that's because his processor is an i3.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
it has nothing to do with i3, but what I'm saying is if anybody knows what to do about the dual monitor, I'd be glad to listen because I still have Ubuntu on a drive, another drive, with all my settings saved, sitting there.
You know what'd be fun? We all make Rocco share a screen and we tech support him through it.
Team viewer, everybody's team viewing. My machine's blowing up. So, hey, I'm open there. If somebody can figure out why it doesn't play well for dual monitors, I'd be glad to listen.
In chat, Rose says MX16. So Robot says Arch Merge, which that's what I'm running right now. Absolutely love it. The only reason Arch Merge is in my top 3, but I couldn't pick it because I just haven't run it long enough. But it was Rocco's recommendation, actually, and I absolutely fallen in love with it. Who else? We got John with Solus with Budgie. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Rocco. Just wanted to get chat in there.
Well, I currently am on Ubuntu Mate. Previous before this, as far as long-term use, was Linux Mint Mate. I do like the Mate flavor. I did try Solus for a while there, but I was still having a few little issues. So I agree with what Toss said that, basically.
So what were the issues you were having, Joe, with Solus?
Did he freeze or did I freeze?
You did for a second, but you're
okay.
back.
You're back.
All right, what were you saying?
What issues were you having with Solus? So that, like if in case I want to try Solus, I may not want to try them if
believe it or not, it was Steam. There's a 32-bit, I don't know if it was a driver or something that I didn't know if I should install it or not. And when I commented on, I can't remember if it was Tom's or whoever did a YouTube video on it, and then Ike actually asked me about it, and he asked me if I installed that, and I said no. So I haven't gone back to try that. But that was really kind of the deal breaker for me because I like to play my ATS and, other than obviously Rocket League, I'm starting to learn more about. So I went back to what I knew works right now for me. But I think if they get past their new part of their threshold, I think that's going to really be one to be the source to be reckoned with. And it worked well with the dual monitors and everything. But right now, to answer your question, and I do like Peppermint too, but again, for customization reasons, it's still just short of what I'm used to using, but I love it on my laptop. So Ubuntu Mate is going to be the one I'd say for me right now, because that's the one I'm using the second longest on here.
Cool.
1710, by the way. So.
Matt?
Like everybody else says, kind of a toss-up.
It doesn't necessarily have to be something you're running right now. It just means your top pick.
That's what I mean. It's really hard right now to really choose because, if you look at what Canonical and Ubuntu are doing, there's a lot of change going on.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at what Solus is doing, there's not just a lot of change there, but they're also doing a lot of community stuff too, with like the Steam integration that they're trying to kind of break out of Solus and wider into other districts. So it's really hard to kind of pick one. But if I'm going for me, it's probably going to be Solus, just simply on the fact that I feel like they're doing a little more community outreach than say Canonical does, as far as like projects that they're breaking apart and trying to get into other distros and stuff. Canonical's doing that, don't get me wrong. It's just Solus you kind of see going into a lot of other distros a lot more readily, I guess, would be what I'm saying.
Right. All right, Seb.
You have to ask.
I was going to say.
Oh my gosh! Come on, man.
I agree. Red Core is good.
Peppermint 8. It's been that for me since 2015 and version 6. It just goes from strength to strength and never lets me down. So,
what about the respin?
The respin is a superb, and we go into the respin on the next Destination Linux. So
yes, we do.
Prepare to listen. Yeah. So it's good. It's good. But no, it's. I mean, a close second would be the new MX-17. That's looking really, really good. Apart from one caveat, and again, we discussed that on the next show. But no, Peppermint for me all the way.
Is that caveat the whole root home thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question, a serious question that was posed to me. For new users, maybe that would be a bad thing. But for somebody who knows what they're doing, like for you, Zeb, you know what you're doing. You're not going to blow up the system by opening something. Shouldn't be a big deal, though. Like that's not a deal breaker for somebody like you who is not going to blow up their system because they mistakenly opened the file in root and edited something.
Well, it's not a case of you're opening the file in root. It's a simple one-click take ownership.
Mm-hmm. The entire folder is root.
Exactly. And whatever, if you do that to your home folder, okay, and then somebody said to me, oh, well, you just log on as root and put it back to the user. But a person coming from Windows to a distribution that's meant to be user-friendly shouldn't have something so powerful in a right click, I don't think. But that's just
see what happens
without a password you're talking about.
Start challenging you.
No password, Colin. You just
no password.
Feel the power of the dark side.
I've never really noticed that in MX before. To
no
be
one
honest,
would really do it. No one would do it until like I wonder if it's like you right click and go, that's there. I wonder if it will let me. Oh, it will. Okay, that's bad. Like that's pretty much what would happen from that.
Yeah, but I've never done it on my system because I don't want to balk it, but I don't know whether there's a final, are you sure? Or whether it just does it.
Challenge. You got to do it. You got to do it, Seb. I mean, who cares about your personal files? Just do it and let us know.
I'll do it in a virtual machine.
Inquiring minds want to know.
We got to make sure
machines don't count, Seb.
You got to do it on your hardware, and you got to put everything at risk.
Exactly.
Put everything at risk.
Yeah. I actually will do it. I have no problem figuring it out. So,
well, the other thing too, I think people who are coming over to Linux for the first time, who want to start learning about working in the terminal, for me, I'm more comfortable working in the for the app system. I just, for whatever reason, than Pac-Man and whatever. I don't care for it as much. It's not as comfortable for me to use.
I agree.
That's because I haven't learned it.
Okay. Apt update or app upgrade makes sense rather than Pac-Man capital S Y-U or capital SYY because you got to make sure you know the difference between those two.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and even Solus has its own basically too, which is it's not a big deal, but it's just one more to learn. So I've always been on the Ubuntu
it's fine
platform and using the app, and it's been easy, and I think there's just a comfort level there too. And I think someone coming over and wants to start learning more and doing things in the terminal, it's probably a more user-friendly way to learn too.
I mean, most people don't want to learn terminal anyway, but like those who do, I agree that apt is easier. But I mean, that's also just a few years ago, apt wasn't even a thing. So like, well, apt as a command wasn't a thing. The whole apt-get, no. But I think that the root thing is a problem. But I would agree that MX is not a distro to be given to beginners anyway.
No.
But other people will disagree with that, and that's kind of the problematic thing.
Well, I think it's aimed towards newer users, but my question is, it's that having that whole root thing, that would not stop you from running it if you liked it, because you know what you're doing.
It's about principles.
Okay, but my point is, like, if I want to run, like, say I don't run MX, but if I liked MX, it would not stop me from running MX.
No.
Because
it's not a thing. It's not an issue. Like, I would right click it, see, and go, oh no, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you would ignore it.
Yeah, I would ignore it, and well, I'm going to do it anyway to see what happens. But I would normally ignore it, and I don't think it's that big of a deal for people who are familiar with what that means. It's just more like when they say it's easier for beginners than antics. Like, yeah, sure, that's easy to say, but that doesn't mean it's easy for beginners or they should even try it. I've had people like suggest all kinds of stuff for beginners that just you should not do. Just no, stop it.
I've given it to a new user, so I suppose I'll just have to wait for the phone call.
Look, I think it's geared. I think with all its tools, it's geared towards a new user. Whether it in practice, it's there for the new user. In reality, is it? I don't know. I've never given it to a new user, so I don't know.
Well, I see Rose wrote in there too about disagreeing with Michael because MX16 can be used for beginners, and I do agree with that to a point because the first one I tried of the MX series was 16. And I didn't think it was that bad. And there are things in there you could play with if you want to try advanced stuff. And yeah, you could break stuff and whatever. But that's also how you learn too. And the thing is, if you're coming over as a new user or a beginner and you try this and you haven't been, what's the word how do I want to say this? It's like you're used to learning something one way and then you try, it's all right, let's take Windows and Linux. Then you're trying something new, and that starting something new, if you haven't been already pre-educated on it a certain way, and you're coming in and you don't have this already mindset, because you're coming in completely, to coin a phrase, virgin in the way that you're just basically no experience whatsoever, then maybe it isn't such a bad thing because you haven't been groomed on one part of it already, and you're trying to learn something different. And let's face it, the way you learn is you break things. I mean,
most beginners don't want to break things. They don't want to learn. They want to use.
Right, but MX16, do you really think a beginner's going to go in and mess with it that way? They're just going to want to use it, I think.
Why would they right click it and go, yes, I am the owner. I will take ownership. No. And then not understand what that means. So like, it's an issue that doesn't need to be there. And beginners don't understand it. At that point, you accidentally do it. That is very problematic because there's no way they're going to be able to understand how to get back into it because they're like, well, my computer won't boot. This Linux thing is terrible. Like, why bother with that? Like, that's just like.
I was just commissioned to build a $2,000 beast back there. You guys can kind of see it right there. It's an amazing piece of hardware. They wanted Windows on it, so Windows is on it. But I asked them as part of my duty for Linux, hey, can I install Linux on the machine? That way, if you're curious and want to understand the security and everything, you can just boot right into it. And they said, yeah, I'd love that. So I'm trying to decide the Linux distribution to put on it for this individual. And
Gentoo.
Ubuntu. Ubuntu was number one that came up. And
Linux from scratch.
Yeah, Linux from scratch. i3. I'm going to put i3 on there. That'll give them a great impression.
React OS.
Yeah.
Let me guess. You did Linux Mint XFCE?
Linux. Well, I didn't do XFCE. I did Cinnamon, which is not my personal preference, but I haven't done it yet. I actually am just creating the etcher. So I was curious what your guys' thoughts were on somebody who would boot into it for the first time. They're not extraordinarily computer savvy, namely a gamer. It's a gaming machine. Linux Mint seemed to be the most likely to make them keep exploring in my thought, that or Ubuntu.
Is that Cinnamon you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the best choice, I reckon.
Michael, what do you think?
Ubuntu Mate 1604 with the Redmond interface.
Okay. It's interesting. Matthew, you're shaking your head yes?
I was going to agree with that because Windows users like familiarity. Users hate change. So if you give them something familiar, somewhat,
but that's where Cinnamon looks Windows-ish, I think, right out of the box. But yeah, if you set up like Michael did, if you set Ubuntu, I like the Mate. That's why I think I like the flavor of it and stuff. But yeah, if you use Redmond, whatever, you can't go wrong with that either.
Yeah, I would change it to be Windows, because when they switch over and go, oh, this is not that bad. They're like, if it's completely, if you give them GNOME now, they're gonna be like, what is
the?
Yeah, and even XFCE, no disrespect to that, but to me, I don't like it because it's too.
Yeah, I wouldn't go XFCE. That Ubuntu was such a comfort for me when I first started Linux. It was funny though, because a lot of people on my channel when I was going it were saying, "Oh, get away from it. It was very popular back then to hate Ubuntu." I don't know why, but it was.
It still is.
And so people were just beating me up like, "Oh, get off that crap. That's junk. That's not Linux. It's not secure. You might as well go back to it." All this stuff that they were beating over. So I eventually.
I'm glad you ignored that. Some people don't ignore that.
Eventually,
people, on the live stream will delete Unity from their desktop while it's running.
I don't know what the next distro I went to was, honestly. But anyways, Ubuntu was always very comfortable to me. And so, that was obviously the first thing. But I kind of like your idea there, too, if I don't go the Cinnamon route with the Mate.
So there's the issue of how soon do they need it? Can you wait 5 months?
The computer? I think they want this now.
Oh, okay.
1604.
So the issue is that it's really hard to pick one right now. I would not give Ubuntu to anyone right now because 1604 is going to they're going to learn something that's not going to be useful later. 1804 is 5 months away basically. So 1710 is not really the best.
Ubuntu Mate 1604 is probably
I would go with that, except for a brand new user has no reference point. If you set up everything for them by default so that all the defaults are like sane, then you can pick pretty much anything that's like, I would say Ubuntu Mate with Redmond or Ubuntu Budgie or maybe Kubuntu if you modify stuff by default.
No. And see, now I already disagree with you. I wouldn't put Kubuntu on there because that would be a little bit. I think I'd put Cinnamon on there before that.
Again, you remove the default stuff that is terrible with Plasma. I admit there are some stupid things that Plasma does. If you fix it, it's fantastic. So either one of those things, and like any of those things, it would be fine as long as the presentation is good up front. It's familiar to them, and you can pick whatever you want as long as it's not Cinnamon.
As long as it's not.
So we didn't get Michael's pick and we didn't get Rocco's pick.
Yeah.
I just told you.
Michael?
Well,
we just heard all his, yeah.
But for that particular thing, if you're talking about the other, like the of the year thing.
Of the year. Distro of the year.
See, this is the part where I have to put like a qualifier of what that means to me. Because
what does that mean for you?
It means that it has to have done something interesting or innovative or something this year.
Agreed.
Beyond that, it doesn't matter. So, like, even if I like something, they haven't done anything special this year, I am counting it. So, Solus.
Wow.
Solus has done the most. They've been the most innovative. They're the most interesting. They have super nice polish. They don't have every application you want, but they do a very
incredible
that most distros don't do. Like a release that you can I wouldn't give it to a beginner, but you can as a intermediate, whatever user, you can rely on a rolling release being solid. Like that's weird to me. Like, and I would maybe even consider it for a beginner if they didn't need to install any extra applications, or if what they need to install was in the software manager. Then, like, even then maybe, but like, it's
incredible. Incredible that Solus has taken such a lead.
Well, it's because they're doing like in Ubuntu Mate has done.
How
a lot
many
of
people here actually running Solus right now? Is anybody running Solus? But we, the majority are recommending it, which is just, it's so weird.
I'm
to
not
me,
recommending
right?
it.
I feel the same way as you guys. Like I loved it. I love every second of it, but I'm not running it on any of my 7.
Well,
I would be running
new.
it right now because last week when I had all those issues, I spent an hour trying to fix what I had messed up with this LTS for adding a PPA that I shouldn't have added. And long story short, I installed Solus and I could not get it to boot because of having to put in the no mode set for the install. Then the first boot you have to put it in the no mode set, but it would not show a grub screen. So there was no way to add the no mode set into it. So it just wouldn't boot.
Wow.
So if anybody has any, suggestions on how to get past that.
Which version of Solus were you putting in? Was it Budgie or was it like Gnome?
Budgie.
Budgie?
It was Budgie.
Yeah, see, I did the Gnome, and I didn't mind that so much, and it loaded up fine. It was the Steam thing. I think if I were to change tomorrow, right now, I'd be leaning toward the respin of Peppermint 8, honestly, because speed-wise, too, they're neck and neck with Solus, I think. And I do agree with Zeb that, Peppermint, it is a really solid, it's a solid system. It's just,
I agree.
It's almost like my community voted on Solus based on fake news. Believe me, it's great.
No, it is good for what
it's good. And it also, like, as far as like best distro of the year is a popularity contest.
Not there yet. It's still got bugs that it's got to get out of it. And I think once it gets past that, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Well, maybe it's one that shows the most promise. Maybe that's why it was voted.
I mean, it definitely has that. But there's also like, if you look at the idea that the best of a year implies that it has to be doing something in the year, not just existing.
Yeah.
Like Ubuntu Mate did a lot of cool stuff, but the only thing they really did was the mutiny thing, which they started doing last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, what exactly super important or innovative did they do?
There was
make a really good distro.
Yeah, no, that's why it probably didn't win. But I think it was up there number 2 or 3 because just since the inception of it, 3 years ago, it's been fairly reliable and it's simple. It works out of the box.
It's a really good distro. It just isn't that interesting.
Well, it wasn't. It's not exciting. For lack of a better term. Although I like something simple out of the box, boring as it were, because it just works for the most. But there's still some issues with the panel.
If you ask me like the overall distro in general, I wouldn't. I mean, Solus would be on the top 5, but I wouldn't automatically go like they've done the most this year, where they have like the fact that they adopted snaps and they've already started working on the new snap the Steam Linux integration system, where you can have Steam's Snap inside of any distro. The fact that they're working on switching over Budgie to Qt.
Okay.
All these different things, like they are doing a lot of innovative stuff and a very small team at that. Okay. And like it is impressive, and I would give them credit because of all those things. But as far as like recommending a distro to someone, it's like that's a different topic.
Not for beginners. I wasn't there yet, obviously. For Ubuntu Mate, Linux Mints, Peppermint, and fine. But Solus, from what I've been seeing the community and testing, I was not ready to commit to say for a newbie, check it out. Maybe next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I tried Solus Budgie in a virtual box, and I found out that that's the wrong thing to do because they said it really doesn't run well in a virtual box. And I didn't try it natively on my system. I did try it.
I don't recall it having issues in my test in a virtual box.
Well, and that's months ago, so maybe something changed.
Okay.
Maybe it's gotten better. I don't know.
I tell you what's another good one that was not mentioned that works great out of the box is LXLE. Cross between Ubuntu, it's based on the 1604. And it really is a nice, lightweight, fully featured distribution that's unusual, but maybe because nobody knows about it. I would recommend that for a newbie. Yeah,
Yeah, it's and Peppermint's a lot like that. I mean, they're two kind of. If you look at them, there's a lot of similarity.
All right, but LXLE is loaded for a lightweight distribution.
Yeah.
But that would be a good lightweight choice. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I was reading on Google Plus that Solus has put it out there that they're not releasing Solus for this year. They're definitely do next year, and I think they also mentioned that they were working on better support for NVIDIA, I believe, because they do say that there is a problem with it, and maybe that's the problem you're having. You've got NVIDIA, haven't you, Rocco? I'm sure. Yeah. So maybe you've got one of those cards.
I'd be running it right now if it wasn't for not being able to boot into it.
So you install it, but you just won't boot into it at all. Is that right?
Well, I have to do the no mode set to boot off the USB. And then you install it, and that first install, the first time you boot off of it, you have to do the no mode set again to get in so that you can install the NVIDIA drivers. Once you do that, then you don't have to do it no more. But that first initial boot, you have to do the no mode set, and I can't get a boot screen or a grub screen to see it to actually go into the no mode set.
So Michael,
video issues with it on the GNOME part of it for Steam. It was slamming it across like halfway between both screens, and I just finally got frustrated with it.
It just boots. It just tries to boot automatically without giving you a grub screen. So it automatically goes to the black screen and goofy.
That's because it doesn't use grub. It uses that clear boot manager. Now,
that's correct.
Work out is I think you hold the shift key down when your machine is booting, and it will go to grub even if you've got it set to 0. What's the equivalent with the clear boot manager? That's what you got to find out.
That's right. I agree with Zeb. There's got to be something there. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys real quick. Has anybody ever had any luck ever with OpenShot, the video editor?
Yeah, crashing.
Okay, no, I wasn't trying to be funny. It's since the beginning and tried a new version, it never freaking works. It's a shame because it looks simple.
Welcome to OpenShot.
I've never seen a program tout in every update that comes out that they've fixed
bug fixes.
Bugs.
It doesn't work.
That every time, no matter how many times they say there's bug fixes, it just crashes, dude.
There probably are. Here's the thing. What they say, they have solved a lot of bugs. They've fixed a lot of bugs, and it's more stable. More stable does not mean stable. It's just more stable than it was prior to its destruction.
Either it is stable or it's not freaking stable.
No,
either your car has 4 good tires or it's a freaking flat.
There's the level of not stable, stable. But they say more stable. So you could start from here. More stable could still be here, and it's just still not stable.
Fair enough. It's stable until you use it. Okay, got it.
Exactly.
It's like that old joke when there's a college football game like 65-6, and the coach says the guy who lost, well, it was a close game until the kickoff, you know. But,
right.
It's okay. It's stable adjacent. Like that.
There you go.
Was what? Stable adjacent?
Yeah, adjacent. It's adjacent to stable.
Are you running for office, Michael? I'm not voting for you. No.
It's close to being stable.
Answer that question.
I'm not answering that question.
But anyway, no, it's awful. I can't stand OpenShot. But like, I want it to be
simple.
Good.
I want it exactly because it's simple. You know, sometimes with Caden Live, I don't need all the extra stuff. But I've gotten used to it.
The Caden Lives, like, there's so many custom shortcuts. And features that Caden Live has.
No, it's wonderful. Yeah, it works 90% of the time. Yeah,
a video editor for me to try as like a beginner for Linux. It's like,
my second choice is Shotcut.
Once you fix their terrible default UI, then it's perfect.
Okay, well, it takes some getting used to, but it seems to be quote stable. You know, but
it does work, and they have actually
it works.
Good green screen feature, which I don't. That's not important for beginners, but
no, that I mean, there's enough of. I wish it had, unless I haven't tried the new one to create titles as you can with Caden Live. Can you do that with Shotcut now?
They said they're working on Blender stuff with it, but I don't know.
Okay,
if like directly.
Okay, that's the only thing I saw that's missing that I wish it like, but it's faster. It renders faster than Caden Live for me at least. It's not as full featured, but it's simple enough where it doesn't take a lot to get used to. But and that one's for Windows also, if I recall. But that's my second choice. Yeah.
Shotcut, and it definitely is a Windows as well. Yeah, I like Shotcut. I like it's the default UI. I don't like, but you can actually switch it to the non-linear UI, and it's perfect.
Can you? Oh, okay, all right. But it seems like it's been really pretty good since the first time I kind of tried it. A couple of years ago is when I first used it. Yeah. Just out of the blue, just wanted to try it, but that's my second choice. Yeah.
Pit to V is actually.
What happened to that new one that came out not long ago? What happened to that one?
Which one?
There's
a few.
It's gone.
It's not new anymore.
There's a couple that are just like super basic, like vid cutter. Like if you just want to cut and trim something down, vid cutter is interesting, like surprisingly easy to use for something so bare bones type thing. Then there's like the super ridiculous ones like Lightworks and DaVinci Resolve. And
good luck getting DaVinci Resolve installed.
I mean, you can get it installed if you don't care about running like executables that are like
or CentOS. I think it's native is CentOS, isn't it?
No, it'll work with anything because it's technically built as a package to be run on anything, except that package building is a terrible decision. It's a binary, proprietary binary SH file. So it's like a executable script that has binary code in it.
I can never get it to install, but Blender is a good video editor too, if you're going to mention that one.
Yeah, but Blender
it does a lot, but it's hard.
It's sophisticated. Yeah, it's very huge learning curve.
It's very. There's actually a YouTube series where somebody made Mikey Cal made a tutorial series about how to use Blender as a video editor.
Yeah, there's another guy too, Chris. I can't remember his last name. It's a different last name, but he does a complete tutorial on Blender as well.
Nice. Is that Chris Weir?
No, it's Chris. Like it starts with an O, I think. Like Octa something or other. It's pretty good.
I think Spatry did his intros strictly on Blender.
His
not mistaken.
He used Blender for the graphics little intro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spatry had the best intro, I reckon. I like Spatry's
and
intro.
he had his own music. He had the little like the penguin slapping the windows, but and then from that you went to the nice subdued. Oh, right, it's time.
Lightworks is the one I'm thinking of. That was that one that came out a little while ago, boasting all these new features and stuff. So
Lightworks is really, really good.
But
it's super limited unless you pay a significant amount of money.
Is that what? Yeah. Okay. I looked at it, but yeah, it's.
If you want 720p, you're good to go. If you want anything more than that, it's like $400.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a. I mean, probably for most YouTubers, 720 is probably good enough, unless you're doing something live or whatever, But,
well, the issue is it's just the limitation is annoying. But like the version 14 that came out recently is what you're talking about. Is the first version where the interface is not incredibly insane. So like it's been around for a very long time, but like it had its own desktop inside of of this video editor, like. Where you have your own windows that you move around.
I think I tried it once. I think I told myself it's not quite as user friendly graphic wise, if I recall. It's been a while.
Like it didn't even look like a video editor. You just open it and there's a wall.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't remember, but I remember saying to myself, nah, I'm not gonna have this on my
Like if you wanted to make Lightworks be useful, you'd have to just individually put pieces together to make it look like a video editor.
Oh jeez.
The newest version says, hey, here's a video editor looking thing. Like, oh, good. But what's annoying is there are things that I want to move in Lightworks. You can't move it. So there's an option of being super customizable that you can move, being default set up as a regular editor. You can move the customizable and do anything you want. You can't do anything to the editor, like the setup editor. So what I wanted was like, hey, give me that as a base, and then I'll move things around. Build it yourself. It's like, no, thank you. I'll use Kdenlive.
So you're not going to escape, even though Tosh did change the subject. What's your 2017?
I was hoping nobody would bring that up.
Disco pick?
Zeb is on it.
You get away with that one.
Zeb,
He
you're
even
killing
made
me,
sure
dude.
you had time that you couldn't just end the streams like you were doing this.
Well, we got to end in 5 minutes. I might not get my pick out in 5 minutes.
Hey, your name's Rocco, not Michael.
Right.
What?
Wow. Did you hear that?
5 minutes of why that is rude. Go ahead, Rocco.
Look, Ubuntu has done a tremendous job at making the decision to drop Unity and switching to a new one and actually making it work. So they have done a great job, and they would probably be my pick of the year. But I have to agree that Solus has done so much for the community this year, not just for Solus, but for the community as a whole, that they have to be the top pick of the year, regardless if I'm running it right now or not.
Exactly.
Because
Okay, so
I
can I
may
ask
be
you a question?
benefiting from the work that Solus is doing, even if I'm not running it.
how about here's a question for you.
Hmm.
This might make it a little more complicated, but based on the amount of work that has been done by Canonical and Ubuntu team for snaps this year, would that change your opinion about like whether Ubuntu versus Solus? Because it's actually kind of making me sort of consider my option, my pick.
I don't know. Canonical's done a lot of canonical. That's one of the actual words that I was told that I pronounce wrong all the time because I say canonical.
It's
So
canonical.
I think it's pronounced caca canonical. but no,
That guy that sent the email to Destination Linux said he made it a point to tell us what we were pronouncing wrong. But anyway,
It's canonical. It's you're saying it fine.
Canonical. What's?
Well, I was saying it canonical, so it's I don't know.
Well, that's
Canonical.
with the twang, it's canonical.
That's
So-
right.
All depends on
Whatever.
what part of the country you're in.
So what was
It's
he want?
Brooklyn.
Did he want you to say canonical?
No, he wanted me to say canonical, not
Canonical.
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 It's canonical. That's it.
Right, exactly. So I don't think it would make me switch my pick because the amount of people that are working with Canonical and the amount of people that are working on snaps
That's a fair point.
don't compare to the amount of people that are working on Solus and the amount of change that those few people have done. So even though in the broader picture, Canonical might have made a bigger step with snaps, you're seeing more change per person.
Yeah, the ratio of how
the
how
ratio
much
of
work is
change.
done versus how many people are doing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
So
a fair
I would
point.
still have to say go with Solus.
You've convinced me to stick with Solus.
There you go.
And like we say, gnome, Fat Elvis has just rebranded canonical.
Colonical.
Colonical.
Canonical.
Yeah, make sure you have your colonical check every year. Okay?
I'm very interested to see what Ubuntu 18.04 is going to be like because I reckon it's going to be pretty awesome, to be honest.
I think it's going to be really good. I think they're right on the right
Yep.
track of what
Yep.
they're doing. They're going for that, no nonsense, no hassle desktop. I don't like certain things about it because it's not perfected yet.
Yep.
But that's really the only things that I don't like about it is the fact that it's not perfected yet.
Did you see what the announcement that Kubuntu made about their testing stuff?
About the
dark theme testing.
yes,
thing?
we covered that in Destination Linux.
Oh, did you cover
And-
who suggested it?
We actually covered one Tux Digital Michael Tennell for suggesting that. Yes, we did cover it.
There's a lot of like I was just wondering because it's like there's a lot of stuff that's like it's not exactly people are saying it's not like fully plasma. It's not a full dark theme change. So
Well, the reason that we covered it was not because it was like huge news, but I think that any time that a community like Ubuntu reaches out and wants feedback for a change that they've made, it's an awesome thing. Because there's so many times that, like for example, GNOME GNOME will make changes and they don't even care.
Yeah, they don't care what
they're just going to make the change, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't.
Like, so especially there's another reason that's why Solus is so interesting is they'll make a decision, the community goes nuh-uh, and they go, okay, cool, we'll change it.
Yep.
There you go. So
that's a good question.
You need to show that
from Mark Graves.
Yeah. Can someone clear up for me what exactly Solus has done for the whole community? Genuine question.
For one, the brisk menu that it's for the Monte, they're making that. Solus is making that. The budget desktop has been adopted by a lot of distros. The Steam integration work they're doing for Snaps, which is going to be provided for a lot of distros. They've made a lot of improvements for GNOME support. They've made some of their own extensions and stuff like that. Lots of stuff.
And that's with a really small team.
Yeah. When it's like 4 or 5 people total, like 3 main people, and then like a couple on top of that.
Right.
I would almost say
all that work with just that small of a team. It's very impressive.
It is.
Well, it's a fair question.
You ever watch when they go live when he does his coding sessions? It's boring as hell if you don't understand what they're doing, but it's mind-boggling and it's amazing and it's intriguing to watch how they go, and they just do things and they run a quick test and boom. I mean, it's fascinating if that kind of stuff. You know, you may not want to watch it for the whole 3.5 hours or whatever they run it, but it's pretty cool to kind of watch and see what they do.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept too.
Yeah. I think Ike's had a vision for a long time, hasn't he? He's made all these automated processes so much quicker for development and that as well. I don't quite understand it all, but from what I see in their posts on Google Plus, they've automated a lot of things. That's why they can get so much done with such a small team. Would that be right in what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They have a lot of automated stuff, like the way they do the package building is all automated.
Yes.
The way they do the testing is automated, like all kinds of stuff. It's kind of the same way that OpenSUSE does it, where OpenSUSE has like this huge automation system that does all the testing and building and everything. And it's very similar in that sense too.
Okay.
Although OpenSUSE has a lot bigger team. So like it's, although, I mean, OpenSUSE last year would have won. I would have given them that. Never mind. Continue.
So English Bob's pick of the year is Peppermint, Zeb, just so you know.
Surprising.
That's surprising. That's a shocker. Hey, how about we ask Mark Rees? Mark Rees, what's your distro pick of the year?
That's a loaded question for people who don't know who Mark Rees is.
Yeah, there's only one correct answer, and you better say it.
Yeah.
Better say it.
Gen 2.
Yes, will it be Peppermint 8 or
that's what he's running.
Peppermint 8 respin?
There it is. It has to be the respin. If you do not say it. Like there's actually times in my stream earlier today, he was like, I would make a point. He was like, but is it a respin? I was like, are you just going to hold that over my head forever now?
Mark Rees' distro pick of the year is Watt OS.
What?
How enlightening.
I take it, Mark, Mark, I take it you're the higher intellect like Ryan who can run i3?
Technically, Watt OS by default is an LXDE.
Oh, okay, all right.
But it's a microwatt that has i3.
Oh, it's microwatt. Okay.
You have to say it like microwatt.
I don't think I can.
Okay. Well, that's all right. That's all right.
You'll have to cover the accent for me, all right?
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Right. Really?
You have a problem with my accent? Is that you have a problem?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Crikey.
It's
your
not
English accent is as bad as English Bob's Cockney rhyming slang.
What are you talking about? My English accent is perfect.
Yeah.
I came back because I heard someone mention i3. You guys switching?
No.
But Robot agrees with you about Arch Merge.
Oh yeah, man, Arch Merge is incredible. That was your suggestion to me, Rocco. Although now that I run it, you'll say it's the worst thing on the planet.
No,
I'm
the one that suggested it to you.
Yeah,
of course
but
I would say it's a good distro.
You'll hate it.
No,
anything.
So now
that's not true.
Hannah i3.
That's fake news.
Can we get i3 working on Hannah Montana? I'd ask Michael, and he'll say yes, but then he'll never make a video about it. Who cares?
He'll make a video.
Montana.
Wait, he will make a video on it. Just give him a few years, and he will make it. Why you got to rush?
I've retired from YouTube.
A few eons.
So,
See, when I said I would do it and challenge accepted, I didn't say how long that challenge existed.
yeah,
Right?
Clearly, we need to set time limits with him.
He is.
That's an understatement.
What did you say? Adjacent,
On time adjacent.
stable, adjacent, on time, adjacent.
Stable
Yeah.
adjacent, yeah.
But
Consistent.
I've got to admit, last night's stream I think was the latest ever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for me, yeah.
Yeah,
I did
6 o'clock,
like 6.5 hours of streaming.
and it was you streamed for 6.5 hours yesterday.
Did you
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I started at
So-
2 and I ended at like 2:30 and I ended at like 9:15. So like about 20 minutes before this stream.
So is that the 6 hours of you talking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why?
pretty much.
Wow.
So next
See, when
time
you
I need
say
something,
I would continue talking for 5 minutes. No. It's 6 hours. It's like 6 hours. I could probably go enough. Wait, no. If you count this, it's like 8.5 hours, maybe 9 hours. So, like, I can.
Michael, you need to wear that Linux patch because you're addicted. So you need to calm down,
Yeah.
but no, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to get Stuart and Michael together. You'd have a 24-hour stream then.
Right.
The guys could go back and forth all day
all he
long.
has to do is go on Lunduke's show. He could do that all the time because that's what he's
Yeah.
doing now. 24-hour streams regularly.
He will let me on that show.
Yeah, there's no way that's going to happen. Yeah,
I'm not going to go into it. He won't, for sure.
I've seen the Telegram group comments.
So last question before we head on out for the night. Before I close it down for the night, anyway. What do you think the biggest thing in Linux was this year?
Ubuntu dropping Unity. I was not expecting that. I gotten used to Unity since the beginning. 2011 when they had to choose between Unity or the GNOME 3 thing back then. Unity, you know what was special for me for Unity as a Windows dual booter? It was a signature environment for Ubuntu. When you saw that, you didn't say, gee, which one is that? Is that OpenSUSE or Arch? No, that's Ubuntu.
Mhm.
Nowadays, I think somebody mentioned, gee, they all kind of look the same to a certain point. But with Unity, you knew, unless you was a newbie, obviously, you knew, oh, that's Ubuntu Unity. Nowadays,
90% of all the runs Linux were Unity.
okay, well,
No, every time I've seen one, they're like, "Hey, thing is running a bit Linux or running to like Linux," and it's like, it's Unity.
I found it more user friendly than GNOME then and now, and that's why I chose Unity over GNOME 3. But that's probably the biggest news. That them trying to come out with the Ubuntu phone was not disappointing. That was going to fail. I mean, they wanted to raise $30 million, really. But
I mean, at the time that they kind of had to. But,
okay,
$32
well,
million.
excuse me, but
they did raise 17 million. So just so you know,
no,
It's
considering it was a phone that I think somebody commented, well, Toss, you don't know what you're talking about because this phone is not for the masses. But you're trying to raise a massive 32 million, so it doesn't make any sense. But
that phone was for the masses, but it was in the sense of like what
Okay,
they
well.
wanted to do from the phone was like super innovative at the time.
yes,
They wanted
yes,
like massive, powerful phone
yes,
with
yes.
all these features. So the money they asked for was pretty much what they
Okay.
needed at the time.
maybe
now
they're
phone, like that phone that they would have made, you could
Yeah.
actually go to like
I know. But maybe back then that their goals were too high. But the point I was getting at with Ubuntu dropping Unity, to me, that was very disappointing as a dual booter. And I don't, I can't use GNOME. I just can't. Even if they improve it, but it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I try to customize Linux, because that's the beauty of Linux, and you can't customize GNOME, at least not now. It leaves a bad taste. It really, really does.
Aside from the Unity drop, which is what you said, to me, the first thing that came to mind, which English Bob touched on it in a sense, but I'm going to say more of what we all know it as, is I think the fact that the market share seemed to grow somewhat significantly, I think, this past year for Linux. It's not huge, but it's huge in the sense of how it had been growing to what it is now. I thought it was a pretty big jump this year.
Well, Chromebooks continue to sell. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Probably.
But yeah.
I mean, Chromebooks is like making it like the whole year of the Linux desktop is like, Chromebooks basically did that.
Well, I mean, they start off cheap, as little as $150, maybe even less sometimes, and they seem to be reliable, as far as I know. I mean, I know it's a lot of web-based stuff on it, right? But they seem to be reliable, and it's Linux. Well, there you go. It's not something I would use, but
it's not technically just desktop Linux, but
it's a form of Linux. Yeah. So
there, my pick would probably be the Unity thing. Like that's such a huge like bombshell. When it happened, I was like, this is not true. This can't be true. And then, wow. And then I posted that video that I got viral, so that was good for me.
And then the second shock was they picked them. No, really? Okay.
Exactly. They should have picked Plasma. And if you're interested, go to textdigital.com. And anyway.
Wow.
I could deal with
this.
Plasma.
Wasn't the last word. This was just.
I know, but it was perfect. So
I think Pete needs to chime in because he's been talking so darn much that
I know. Agreed. Pete, what do you think the biggest thing in Linux was this year?
I mean, I kind of agree with the whole Unity thing. Although I feel like, I mean, a lot of the good that came out of it. I mean, it shows why the kind of strength of open source, that like you can have a major company drop a project, and yet if people still want to use it, they can continue on with it.
Yep.
Both on Unity and the Ubuntu phone.
Yep. Valid point.
Yep. Matt.
I was gonna say I got to go with the canonical drop in Unity. I mean, there's really not much else that changed how we see Linux, I guess. From what OEMs like Dell and all those guys are pre-installing with Ubuntu, like that kind of changes the
there's a huge ripple effect.
Yes, there's that ripple and wave effect that decision has, and it changed the game a lot in the Linux community, and actually made Ubuntu exciting for once in the last, as far as like expecting it for release.
Yeah, exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Ryan,
just to be a little different, because I mean, obviously everybody agrees on I think one of the biggest news items, but I think one of the most interesting things for me as a new user of Linux was when we covered that story, Rocco, about the lines of code in Linux and how far it's come. So I went back to look for that news story, and it was 24 million lines of code now the Linux kernel is, and they're saying it would be over $6 billion if you were to try to reproduce this code as from a company standpoint. So $6 billion worth of code. But if you look at this chart showing the millions of lines of code even from 2016 to now, I mean, you're talking nearly 4 million lines of code added between the years. So just the amount of development going into Linux, I think, is astounding.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The fact that it's constantly keeping pace.
Yep.
Zeb?
Someone's probably going to contradict me, but I think the best thing about 2017 was nobody called it the year of the Linux desktop.
Only in a sarcastic way, I guess.
Because that's been happening every year for the last 10 years. And every time I hear that statement, I'm like, really?
Yeah, really.
I've been hearing that since 2000.
Well,
I think it's fair
I'll
to
just
say that it's already
forget
happened.
about it.
It looks like you went offline, Rocco.
Did I?
Oh, ouch, yeah.
That's so great. Well, it's
It looks
it's
like I got the last word in. Yeah.
it's cutting in and out though, so I don't know what's going on with it.
No, but it's off big time now. Just a black screen and a spinny. We're
It's
back.
back now. It depends.
Yeah.
It depends if OBS says it's on or not. If it's OBS saying
It's-
it's on, it's going to.
It's going in and out. So,
Mhm.
Colin, what's the biggest thing in Linux? This year?
React OS had another update.
I thought he was going to say he had another heart attack.
So the question is,
Wait, I didn't realize. Do you know how many developers are behind React OS? I didn't realize that.
I think you can't go past the Unity thing, to be honest, the drop in the Unity. I think that you just can't go past. That was one of the biggest news ticket items this year.
Yeah.
Definitely, without a doubt.
it's hard to like. It's one of the biggest things in the past 5 years. So like you could still say what's the biggest thing in 2018? Unity last year. So,
Yeah, but I think, look, I agree that it was the biggest news item, but I don't think it has the biggest impact on Linux this year. Only because, for example, what Pete had said, where you can have a company that removes a desktop environment, the main desktop environment, you could almost argue, and the Linux community hits the ground running, and it almost doesn't skip a beat. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't
I mean,
think
like-
it has the impact that, for example, the advancement in snaps is something that is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Once they perfect it. So they have advanced it now this year to the point where it's being integrated in software centers, and it's not perfected yet. But I think that is the biggest impact on Linux this year because of what it says for the future of Linux. Where Canonical is a news story, and it really, even though it's a shocking news story and it hits you home because it's been there and everything, it didn't do anything impactful, like either good or bad, for Linux, except show you that the Linux community can continue on.
I don't think it did anything like necessarily long-term bad or long-term good, but it did do a lot of things that like initiate a lot of decisions that we're making on top of it, like Pop OS and all this other stuff. I think it did do a lot, but like there wasn't anything like, I guess I agree with the whole like snaps is probably more important because they're doing a lot more with it. They like every week they announce like these new things that are like game changing, and snaps is being involved in it. And like there's one they just talked about this week was the Rocket Chat alternative to Slack is like they've switched their deployments all to snaps by default. So if you choose to use Rocket Chat, it'll like suggest that you use snaps. And they say that like 40% of all snaps all Rocket Chat installs are snaps based. And that's only been like a couple months or so since they started doing it. And they've already reached like 100,000 installs of snaps. So like, and that just one application that's changing it. So like that one thing is getting such a big impact. So like, yeah, I would say probably snaps is the most impactful for sure.
Yep. That's just one opinion, though. There's many out there. All right, last word for everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Colin, what's your last word?
Oh, I'm first. Oh, gee.
You're first. You're at the top, dude.
Oh, last word. I'm on holidays.
You're on. Nice. What do you wait? What are you trying
I'm going
next?
overseas. What am I trying next?
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet.
i3.
Antigos i3.
What's the last thing you've tried?
Well, I've installed 3 so far. Well, 4 probably.
You got some serious
today.
Peppermint. I've got Peppermint MX17, and also I think that's still the MX17 and goes GNOME. So, but I want to try something maybe a little bit different next year, and probably maybe I've downloaded that Red Core and tried it a bit, which is the LXQT. I want to run that a bit more and see what it's all about and whether there's any more tweakability left in it. So I'm interested to see what that's like. There's so much talk about this Alex QT, but I just can't see.
Well, then run Ubuntu next.
There's potential in it, but it's just very young at the moment. So, sorry?
It'll be at least another 7 months or so before it's reliable.
Ubuntu next.
Yeah, Ubuntu next is going to be the next LXQT version. And then you can get some...
okay. Yeah, there's no ISO for
support from Simon.
Simon said there's no ISO for that because I asked him. It's only the
Really?
daily build. Yeah, that's what he said.
There's a daily.
Sure.
There should be a daily.
Yeah, there should be a daily build, yeah.
For Ubuntu next.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the daily build means it's experimental, like alpha, beta stuff.
Yeah, but I'm sure I couldn't find that. Maybe I was looking for Alex. Sorry, it was
alex.com/daily/
Alex QT. I was looking for Alex QT. Said there was no Alex QT, so
yeah,
it must be
Ubuntu-next.
Okay. Yep.
All right, Pete. Last word.
Mycroft.
Yeah. Toss.
Join me in 12 hours, 1 p.m. for another fantastic news and nonsense live. I should be on live at about 1 p.m. tomorrow. News and nonsense. It's been a while. Yeah, Rocco, you and I need to do another one. I had fun that one time that we did it. I can't believe it was like.
Dude, but it's not that I don't want to be there, but I just don't.
It's
have
the
a lot of
schedules.
time.
Yeah. No, I know. But
wait.
Anyway,
I started editing Destination. This is not the last word, but I started editing Destination Linux after I got home from work today.
Yeah.
And I stopped when we started this stream, and I'm not done yet.
No, I know the editing process takes time. That's why I try to do stuff with as little. That's why when I go live, I don't get it. It's just live. So if there's a goof, I goof. But
and no, I know. Open shot.
I know, yeah. But no. Anyway, that's my last word. Is 1 p.m. tomorrow.
1 p.m.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Check out your stream.
Okay.
All right, Joe.
Well, I stick with what I said earlier. Merry Christmas. I don't know if you're doing something next week or not, and if people will be around because it is the holiday weekend. But I just hope everybody has a happy and healthy and safe holidays. And
yeah, I should be on next weekend. Yeah. Well, let's see. Sunday's Christmas Eve, but I think I'll be on for a little bit, probably. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, even our viewers. So I just.
Yeah.
Matt.
For more not safe for work videos, go to youtube.com/user/dark1778.
Okay. Michael, don't you have a link for him?
Get back to that.
Yeah, okay, all right.
That's what I figured.
Michael, last word.
So I would suggest if you want to do live streams in the future, don't do them for 9 hours the entire day. You just cut that up a little bit. So I'm going to go to bed now.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Zeb.
Oh,
coming to YouTube to you soon. Destination Linux episode 50.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Ryan, last word.
Intelligent people use XFCE, and for fun, we use i3. Fight me.
Finally.
Oh, it's supposed to be filling your brains, then bite me.
I gotta have Ryan on the news and nonsense. That would be fun.
Yep, you should.
Fun. You're invited one of these days.
Right, so you'd be the news, he'd be the nonsense.
Whoa, Joe!
Yo,
you know what you just invited me to? Not happening, bro.
And then Ryan would say, "You talking to me?" No, but
talking to me.
Yeah. All right. What Zeb said, check out Destination Linux episode 50. What is it, tomorrow? Well, it's already tomorrow now, but Monday. Check it out. A really good episode. So maybe we'll see you next week, depending on what happens, depending on whoever can make it. We'll see.
Yep. And also, just so you know, touchdeal.com/dark1778.
I knew that was coming at some point.
For more not safe for work videos.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Good night.